What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to Vgx Heroes Twitter Spaces AMA. It is currently September 29th, 2021. I'm going to do a quick market update before we get started, and we're listening in on the Twitter Spaces AMA. What's up, Kamikaze Kronos? What's up, VGX Hero Peter Griffin? How you guys doing today? So I'm going to share my screen real quick and just go over what the market's currently doing. Let me just refresh this real quick. So market is down about 0.14% the last 24 hours. We got Bitcoin at 42,379. Look like it's coming up a little bit since the daily candle close last hour. Ethereum's up to $2,929, up 2.83%. So you got Cardano up $2.09, up 1.52%. XRP at 94 cents, up 4.23%. All right, top gainers, we got OMG Network up 24%, $11.15. Binance Coin up 9.81%, sitting at $370. Cody up about 9%, sitting at 64 cents. Top losers that we have for today, we got eCash down 10.33%, Compound down 7.29%, sitting about $298, and Barnbridge down 5.33%, sitting at $24.54. Coming towards the end of the day today, but there are a couple of holidays today. National Coffee Day for you coffee drinkers out there. National Starbucks Day, Biscotti Day, Simchat Torah VFW Day, and World Heart Day. Crypto bubbles for the visual people out there. Can I talk today? We got Bitcoin Cash down 17%, and a couple of the other things I already talked about, but I like using this as an example for just getting an idea of how the market is. You can also adjust all this stuff how you want it. You can put the week, the month, the year performance. You can put different things in the bubbles. It's kind of cool. But check this out if you guys are interested. This is cryptobubbles.net. Ooh, we got to refresh this. It's the new day. Crypto Fear and Greed Index. Let's see. Yesterday, well, today still, but it was 24. We're even more, guys. Down. Extreme Fear 20. We keep dipping. There's lots of fear in the market right now. Like I always tell people, be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful. Maybe a good time to get back into the market, not financial advice. All right. So we got 3 people watching. Again, I'm going to try to be a little bit interactive and listen in on the AMA and try to answer any questions that pop up here, and I'll relay them to the panel. If you guys do have questions, I can, obviously try and help you guys out there. But this is being recorded. You guys can go back and watch this. But we'll see if they started already. I got 9 o'clock Eastern on the dot. Here we go. Let's see. Shows that they're on. I don't know why it's not letting me join. I'll set a reminder. There we go. All right, looks like we got 11 people.
What up? Hello, everybody. Thank you.
There we go.
Everybody, as always. Hey, Floki. Hey, Crypto Daddy Pig. Hey, Big Co. Hey, Blondie. Hey, Max. Hey, Crypto Airborne. Equalizer. Christopher. Spoon. Evan. Go Bake. Thank you. That's all right. Thank everybody for being in here.
Thank you for hosting, Pepe. How are you doing?
Doing well, my friend. I'm up in the I'm in a hotel up in North Kakalaki. Max misses country, so if I cut out, blame it on him.
What's the occasion?
Yeah, I'm up here for business for 3 weeks, so I'll be here for a little bit.
Nice. If you're having fun, nice. If not, I'm sorry. Hope you get through it soon.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of young, like it's all basically new hires for the position I'm in, because it's kind of like a higher end for this company, the program I'm in. So my whole class is up here. There's 20 of us, and it's all like fresh fucking inmates. So you know it's a good time.
Is it just me, or is anyone else picking up the
Christopher,
choppiness?
Am I breaking up?
A little bit, yeah. Unless anyone else can confirm, it's not just me.
Yeah, no, it's him. I'm trying to work on this for a little bit in the pregame, but we're gonna have to make the best of it.
Right on, right on. How you doing, Michael?
Yeah, I'll just try and keep it short.
I'm good. Sorry, I'll be right back. I gotta mess with my Bluetooth a minute, and then I'll hop back on. But I'm good, Floki. You good? You been crazy busy still?
Yeah, just twerking. Just twerking. Too much fun means I have a lot of work to catch up on.
It'd be like that, my friend.
Yeah, I'm just out here multitasking it up outside with my dog, playing with my doggy, hanging out with you guys.
All right, well, we'll get it started. I'm sorry if I break up. I'm staying in a hotel, but this is the Vgx Heroes Weekly Ama. We do it every Wednesday night. We try and rotate the panel. It's people from our education team in the Discord. We all have different knowledge in different areas, so we'll introduce everybody. But once again, thanks everybody for being in here. Happy to see all the heroes. So the idea of where this educational AMA came from was our fallen hero Reeves. It was his main focus in the heroes to help with educating new people to the crypto and just kind of answering all the questions that people might be scared to ask or don't ask. So that's why we're here. But appreciate it. Try and keep it short.
Close friends with Reeves. Of his, because he wanted to make sure that there was always an accessible forum for people to ask questions, no matter how deep in the weeds or how novice anyone could be. You can come in here and ask questions, and nobody's going to ridicule you, and nobody's going to treat you with the same kind of tribal attitude that tends to permeate the rest of the space, unfortunately, and even unfortunately sometimes even in our own little corner of the world. But in here, at least, you can ask us anything, and we'd be happy to help. We're not just VGX specific or Voyager specific. We're not employees of Voyager. We're not affiliated with Voyager in any way. We're just invested in a similar thesis and kind of coalesced over that. But I mean, we can talk anything that your heart's desire, whether it be Bitcoin or the complete other end of the spectrum with meme coins or anywhere in between, to layer ones, layer twos, or self-custody, privacy, best practices, OPSEC. We're happy to cover it all. We cover software, hardware, and anything in between. So we would like to encourage everybody to come ahead and speak up. Raise your hand if you want to ask a question. Don't be afraid to come up. We don't bite. And hopefully we get a lot of good questions. Christopher, I see you there. I saw you requested a couple times. We'll get you up here as soon as we're done with intros and let you be the first up to ask a question.
Yeah, appreciate it, Michael. I was about to say the same thing to you, Christopher. Give us just a little bit, but appreciate you being up here as always. Man has all the insight in the world, so I doubt you could ever have a question that would stump him. But I'll pass it over to Floki.
What's up, everybody? I'm Floki. I am one of the founders of the VGX Heroes, along with Maximus and Aragorn. And I'm just a crypto Viking that speaks from the heart. I'm happy to be here. I'm learning like everybody else. We have a very smart panel, and I'm excited to get this AMA going.
And if you guys could, the little blue circle at the bottom right there, if you want to go ahead and share this space, just so other people can see that we have it going on, and maybe they'll come up and add some insight as well. It'd be much appreciated.
Yeah, can we throw up some hundreds for that? Let me see if everybody's awake. Throw up the 100. It's in between the 2 people and the share button. Let's see some hundreds. Everybody happy to be here. Everybody having a good day. Thank you. All right, we'll pass it over to Stone Cold.
Hey, what's up, guys? Stone Cold. Tweet out all things VGX. So we're talking supply, the VLP, put out a couple models if you want to input your own data and see what tier is going to be best for you. Etherscan transaction history, quarterly filings. That it has numbers and related to Voyager, I'm probably going to be on it. I'm also kind of working on a pricing estimate model. So if anyone has any ideas or something they kind of want to flesh out that you really haven't put to paper yet, feel free to reach out to me, because I'd love to have a couple different ideas and kind of get some estimates out there. And it's also my weekly announcement that if you have not gone out to look at the quarterly earnings report on the Cedar filings for Voyager, you are doing yourself a great disservice not doing that research. If you don't know how to find that, I have a couple links on my page, but also feel free to just reach out. I'd be happy to help out. I know there's a lot of information out there to go through. So if you're needing some help to wade through those, feel free to reach out offline. And then tonight, I'm drinking a glass of Russell's Reserve 10 years. So it's a good night.
100 for that.
You know, I
appreciate you as always, Stone Cold.
I got a bottle of scotch from a fellow hero. It's called the Peat Monster, and it's actually a pretty cool story, because I used to drink this back in the day, and I've never been able to find it here. And when we were all in Daytona together, I happened to talk about how there's this one scotch that I always loved, but I could never find it. Blah 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 blah. And turns out that a fellow hero actually is one of the head schmuckety schmucks at this company. And as soon as he got back to his office, he shipped me a bottle. So we've got a pretty sweet community. There's a pretty good scotch. So everybody should check it out. Put out by a company called Compass Box, and it's called the Peat Monster. It's a good time.
Nice. Small world. I'm telling you, we have a little bit of everything in this community. But our newest member to the educational team, helping us out tonight, helping maybe get some new insight, is Frankie. Take it over, my friend.
Hey guys, thank you, Frankie here. I go by the Vgx Hero, Jack Nicholson. I know Michael from way back when. Basically, my background story is been on Wall Street, doing counterparty risk, a very niche position. I got started in October with the craziness, October of last year. Been hooked on it ever since, but went from absolutely knowing nothing to really now understanding a pretty decent amount. And I don't have a technical background by any means, so I feel like if I can do it, anyone on here can do it, because I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but I can I'll dig deep. I'll dig as deep as I can to learn something. So these guys really know their stuff, and really no question is too basic. They're happy to answer and happy to help in any way, shape, or form. So just here I have a few things that I can say in due time. So thank you guys.
Yeah, appreciate your time to come help us out. We happy to have you up here, and we definitely are open to speaking to any and everyone. Quick shout outs, then we get to you, Chris. But Crypto Airborne is streaming this live on his YouTube channel, and it will be posted afterwards. So if you have to miss any of it, it'll be posted up there. Thank everybody for being here. Follow the Vgx Hero Twitter page, as we're trying to push all the hero related information to there and host spaces like this, just to kind of get the community all in one place. Join the Discord. It's in my bio, Hero's bio, Floki's bio, and we have a lot of great channels over there. It's very specific to different things, like Michael, Stone Cold, Crypto Daddy Pig are always in the charting channel. There's a VGX channel, there's equities channels, there's a little bit of everything. So it's a great place to learn more. Hope to see you there, but we'll pass it over to Chris. Let me bring you up here, my friend.
I'm going to throw in one last quick thing. I see Evan Reese in here. As far as I can tell, he's the only one here so far. Just became a hero today. So if you want to throw up some hundreds for Evan, thanks for joining us tonight.
Welcome. And before we get too serious, too, let's just make sure that we have a good backup plan. Pep, I know you're in a rough reception area, so just in case you were to happen to break up or get a little squirrely, I see we do have Cartel in here, so I'm sure he can come up and help co-host.
Yeah, so break up any Cartel replacement. All right, but
I nominate Cartel to come up.
100%. But Christopher, how you doing, my friend? Can you hear me? If you have to be on iPhone or app. Sorry, not iPhone.
Yeah, you can't be on the PC for this. How about now?
There you go.
There you go.
Okay, I'm Vgx Hero Pablo Escobar. So just was interested in wanting to see how Vegas went. All right.
That's all you, Floki.
Oh man. Shoot. Let's see. You guys want the quick play-by-play or the Voyager specific stuff? Voyager
Give us a good in between.
In between. That sounds good. Somewhere in between. All right. Friday, rolled up in the car in the morning. We minted Pablo Escobar literally during the call. Pretty much, we discovered what he was going to be and had a nice little talk about Medellin. So shout out to you, man. Thanks for being who you are. Awesome character. And then it was straight to the Voyager focus group, which was in a Mexican restaurant. It was nice, and had drinks and food. And unfortunately, I can't disclose what was discussed. They asked us not to and to keep it internal. But what I can say is that they're hungry to improve. They, I got the sense that we're just getting started. They are. It's obvious they're having focus groups, taking into consideration all of the things that the community is talking about, good and bad. They want to, have a line of sight on everything. And I think having these focus groups is one of the first and many steps of that. If I were to say I was a 10 out of 10 in my conviction for Voyager, now it's an 11 because I've had that, face to face with these guys, and I could see the drive and ambition that they have. And they're hungry, and that's what we want. That's the energy we want. So, yeah, I know we had some of the discussion, while I was driving up, and I was trying to collect those thoughts, and I did my best to represent you guys and some of the things that were brought up during that call during the focus group. Yeah, I definitely got some good ones in there. So that was Friday, and then that night after the focus group, I went to go hang out with the Trade the Chain guys, and I got to meet Pat and Ryan and Nick and a bunch of other people, Brandon Brown as well, the racer for the Trade the Chain car, super awesome, and a bunch of other people. Great times. Everyone's really cool. It's just the lifestyle is so fun. The crypto lifestyle is a lot of fun, at least within that circle. It was an awesome experience that night. Saturday morning, woke up, breakfast burritos by the pool. Then we jumped into the I like to joke, the party van. I don't think it's quite long enough to be a bus. Peter Griffin, we need to give him a mic as well if he's here. What's up, dude? We got to get him up here to talk about the story as well. Got in the party van with everybody. Got the credentials at the credential place, ran into Steve, said hello, started off the race by the pits right next to the car. Super incredible. You guys need to experience NASCAR in the flesh. It is a totally different experience. It's TV does it absolutely zero justice. I didn't even touch NASCAR with a 10-foot pole before this, and now I'm a huge fan. And it was cool because the Trade the Chain and the Voyager suite were really close to each other, so I was able to jump, between the two. Found Peter at the race, which was great, and then we rode back in the party van to the hotel for the Sahara rooftop party, which was what the invite was all about. That everyone had an opportunity to go. Those that missed it, I'm sure there's going to be more opportunities, but it was freaking sweet, man. Food, drinks, music, people. There were some people that were in the pool with their clothes on. Wasn't me. I was the only fool that actually brought a bathing suit. I felt pretty silly. No one else actually had a bathing suit. But yeah. And then blackjack that night with the Trade the Chain guys. I did pretty well for myself. That was a lot of fun. And then Sunday was Virgin Hotel pool party. It was pretty sick. Yeah, I was in my element. what can I say? It was incredible. And then I just drove home that night, and here we are.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. But yeah, I can talk on the NASCAR. Yeah, I was never a big NASCAR guy, but when I got to go to Daytona, yeah, it's completely different. But Peter, I'd love to hear kind of your point of view.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the race was awesome, the party was awesome, but what I really liked and appreciated about the event was being able to have these, the high level conversations, obviously, with people who know a whole lot more than me. And one of those people was Pat Ackerman. Just, I can't exactly regurgitate what he said because I had a few tips back, and he's obviously smarter than I am. But basically, the gist of the conversation, one of the things was just like, hey, this market is, everything that we're interested in is going in the right direction. All the right things are happening. And I don't know, just bits and pieces from different conversations. It was nice to hear that, Voyager's working on this, and obviously Sense working on that. So it was, I don't know, it was just a pretty cool event. It just definitely seems like, everyone's focus when they were there was just it's like a lifestyle. Like, it's centered around crypto. Like, that's what they do for fun. That's what they do when they're sad. That's what they do, like, at the urinal, right? It's like all this is like cryptocurrency basically. So it's just, I mean, I literally it's the reason I say the urinal is because I was standing next to Pat Ackerman. I was like, hey, look, I don't care if this is man code, not supposed to talk to another man at the urinal, but I got to ask you a question. And then so we just started chopping it up. And yeah, I was just picking his brain about things, but it was just, I don't know, it was a pretty cool event. And I'm just want to reiterate, this company is definitely going somewhere. And if you're feeling bad right now, just hold your breath.
Yeah, man. I really like what you said on the car ride back, Peter, about how the binary decision, is this going to be in a better place in a couple years from now? Yes. Duh. And Pat Ackerman, this dude just oozes confidence. He is such a fun dude to be around. I cannot wait to hang out with him again. And you, Peter, it was such a good night. Good afternoon that Saturday. Man, it's just like, now I want to get as many crypto related community parties and get-togethers go as possible, because it really just, I don't know, it just feels that much more real once you have all these people and faces that are involved. It gives you so much confidence in the space that it's kind of hard to achieve just in a Twitter.
Yeah, and one thing I want to add too is I don't really know who posted that they were at the party or anything, so I don't want to like throw people's names out there, but there's a lot of people in the space who are at this party, right? And one thing is, necessarily, it's not exactly what you know, it's who you know and what you do with it, right? So it was really cool to see these different people at the party that were in the crypto space. We're still at this event and still hanging out, so it's evident that that these relationships are already formed and these people go way back, and there's just a lot of different things in motion collectively from people in a whole lot of different areas within this cryptocurrency space. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was.
Thanks for hopping up here and sharing that. You can go ahead, Floki. Do you have anything else?
I was just going to say, Chris, I hope that any other like specifics or moments you're looking to get more details on in my little mini story. Or anybody else for that matter.
Think you're the only one up here besides Peter.
Come again?
Something real quick for you.
I'll bring my VGX Speedo next time. I'll go swimming with you.
Hey,
did you
let me know when that event is and I'm there.
Which would you like better?
Is he breaking up for anybody else?
Yep, I can't hear him.
That's broken.
Yeah, crypto, you're making my internet look good. You're breaking up a little bit.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah,
Kind of.
What are you doing, Charlie?
Hey, Floki, what would you say your experiences from Daytona and Vegas? Which one did you like better? Was it like a different vibe in Vegas compared to Daytona? I'm just
The actual race itself was way more fun in Daytona because of the fans and just that area itself. You know, in Vegas, there's all these other things going on. So the race itself, minus, you know, the people that I was around, that was incredible. Everyone's from Trade the Chain and Voyager is super good people. But the race itself, I was like, man, there's no infield really. It wasn't that same kind of festival vibe that the Daytona race had. I mean, the late night after party, that was awesome. And that was a kind of an experience, you know, the Vegas, you know, there was a slight party mode Vegas vibe going. I mean, it's Vegas, baby. So it was a lot of fun towards the end of the night. Cause you know, in Daytona, it was, you know, kind of midnight and then, all right, time to go to sleep sort of thing, versus Vegas. It's like, all right, what's next, boys? What's next?
We literally got kicked out of the party. And by I mean also including the person who threw the party, to the point where the security guard was like, no, I said get out. And then the party continued after that once we left. So we were already pushing the timeline as it was. I don't even remember what time we stopped, but yeah, you're definitely right. It's just the party was flowing for sure.
And I'm sure you could kind of create the Vegas fun vibe with the right group at Daytona, but both were different. If I had to pick one to do all over again, depends which day and what mood I'm in, because they were both incredible for their own right. Leaning towards Vegas, though, I have to say, yeah.
Yeah, I don't blame
Gotcha,
Vegas.
thanks.
That's a hell of a place. But our last member of the panel tonight, he joined a little late. Thor, if you want to give your little introduction for us.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Yeah, sorry about that. They kind of got away from me. Great hearing everybody's like stories, even though I kind of got there in the middle of it. But I'll make the story quick. I started crypto back in 2017, around like the middle of the bull market. I'd been trading a little bit traditional beforehand, but nothing too serious. Got into Voyager, or found out about Voyager in 2019. Late 2019, when I had a feeling that the bull market was, you know, coming back up to resume a little bit. I was like looking at new platforms. I hated Coinbase, stumbled on Voyager, saw the team behind it. Honestly, I thought it was like a scam in the beginning, like just from the team and all of that. But kept following it, bought my first Vgx early 2020, and have been with, you know, Vgx holder and, you know, huge advocate for them since. I mean, I agree with everything that everybody's been saying. Pete, I jumped in towards the end of your thing with just the community behind it, the team, and looking out in that vision of what's going to be going on in 3 to 5 years. I mean, it's the space overall is growing. So I think, you know, Voyager is going to have an incredible future, and I'm excited to be part of it. As far as
definitely.
As far as like what I do in the Vgx Heroes as well, is like you'll find me in the chart section, drawing some lines. Been having some troubles drawing VGX, charting that out just because of the new history of it. But it seems like we got something going on right now, like some type of patterns coming out.
Definitely. So I appreciate you as always coming up here and spending some time with us. But yeah, if you have any chart related or technicals questions, definitely come up here and ask him. But that's the cast.
Appreciate y'all.
Yeah, as always. But Michael, I want to get into some privacy and just some different things you want to share on that.
Yeah, so it's been a hot topic this week on Twitter with a few people that first I think it all kind of started because somebody in the community posted about Bitcoin privacy and its shortcomings, and it just kind of evolved into an info sharing session of, you know, Bitcoin could be as private as you choose to participate in it. So there are a number of things that I think are often overlooked by folks, or people make concessions with their privacy, and it's always a trade-off for convenience or user friendliness. But there are things that you can do to mitigate those, privacy leaks that are within everybody's control, and it's just a matter of everybody making an informed decision as to what's worth it to them. So first of all, KYC is an overreach that people voluntarily participate in for the convenience of it themselves. And if you're in the KYC space, as most people in this spaces would be, dealing with exchanges and custodial services, then at that point you've kind of sacrificed that layer of anonymity that you could possibly have. And there's ways that you can attempt to reclaim it via coin joins and mixers and things like that. But there are also methods of buying non-KYC coins that I think a lot of people overlook, because when you're new to the space, the easiest way to get into the space is to start with the most customer-friendly on-ramp, and those tend to be your KYC exchanges. So for anybody that feels that that's the only way of participating in the space, I would just suggest that you look into some non-KYC options if that interests you, and understand that KYC, non-KYC, it's not a matter of tax evasion or criminality or anything that anybody always kind of casts negative aspersions on it. It's also just a matter of having a right to your transactional privacy. So there's a lot of informational privacy leaked via the KYC process. There's also a lot of informational privacy leaked via a number of things, whether it be having to put your phone number into a service in order to have that service. Whether you could talk Bitcoin privacy, but there's also just privacy in general in the space. You could have privacy in messaging. There's end-to-end encryption that folks should look into and be aware of. Chatting in a DM on Twitter versus chatting in a DM on Discord versus chatting on Telegram or on Signal or on WhatsApp or in a standard SMS text messages all come with varying degrees of privacy and the ability to protect one's privacy. So I tend to advocate for people to look into end-to-end encrypted methods of communicating. Some of those, depending on how far down the privacy rabbit hole you want to go, there are folks that refuse to use things like Signal even though it's end-to-end encrypted, because it requires a phone number in order to join. So the most staunch privacy advocates will refuse to participate in any product that requires your phone number in order to participate. And that's why many will opt towards Telegram, or even if you really wanted to go all the way down the rabbit hole with decentralized communications methods, you've got Element and Matrix servers and Kutch, which operates on the Lightning Network, or you got Sphinx, which operates on the Lightning Network, Kutch, which is also another popular one. But there's a number of kind of decentralized, peer-to-peer, end-to-end encrypted ways of communicating with one another that people can inform themselves on. So I kind of name drop a few, and if I talked about each of them, it would kill the whole 2 hours. So everybody can either contact me after via DM, and happy to walk anybody through anything that interests them, but I won't drag everybody through that whole conversation here. But other things that people, I think, need to factor in terms of their privacy as it relates to their security, and especially security of assets. But anyone that's using their phone number or text messaging for their 2FA and two-factor authentication should understand very well that is a bad idea, and why it's a bad idea, because of SIM swapping. And the T-Mobile just recently had a huge data breach and a hack where people were able to acquire SIM data for all of T-Mobile's customers. So if you're a T-Mobile customer and you're currently using your two-factor authentication as text messaging, just understand that it would really not be a far stretch for anyone in possession of that data from T-Mobile to SIM swap you and intercept the text message that's supposed to confirm that you can access your account. And I believe we saw people in the Voyager community just this week alone alleging that they were caught up in that catastrophe that happened there, where they were SIM swapped and people were able to access their 2FA code and access their accounts and basically drain their accounts. So there are a number of things that many people overlook because they feel like they're doing enough, or they feel like it won't make a difference. But if everybody would just take a little bit more time to pay attention to the incremental things that you can do. I've touched the past couple weeks on password managers pretty extensively, talking about LastPass, Bitwarden, 1Password, things like that. I think that people should use some type of a password manager that can help them with high entry passwords that are unique to each account that they have, that are guarded by a master password. But another interesting part of the conversation that evolved this week was people talking about biometrics. And I'll be the first to admit that I was a big proponent of biometrics when I first got away from the standard, text message 2FAs, because biometrics just seemed like, well, Who's going to replicate my fingerprint? Who's going to replicate my face? Well, the thing is, those also have shortcomings, and a couple of the shortcomings that I just heard about very well articulated in a Twitter Spaces that I was on earlier in the week that Casa, the multi-sig provider, had put on. They were talking about biometrics, number one, can be forged or replicated. Facial rec especially is something that people could replicate from public images of you that exist on Facebook, where if you can triangulate 3 different photos from 3 different angles of you, they can generate a model that can be used to dupe any kind of facial rec. And another shortcoming of biometrics is you only have one face and you only have one fingerprint. So you can never revoke those credentials. So if you set something up for biometric authentication, feeling like that's the be-all, end-all, and someone will be able to spoof that biometric on you, whether it be your face or your fingerprint, just understand that that's not a credential that you could ever revoke. You can't change the password on that. You can't choose to change your fingerprint. So that's another shortcoming. And lastly, understand that all of the algorithms that are actually judging the access protocols for biometrics have a certain degree of error that's tolerated, that's built into them. And that's, on facial rec to allow for people wearing glasses, different glasses, hats, facial hair, no facial hair. They put on weight, they lose weight. Maybe they have a tan, maybe they have a cut, maybe they have a scar. And likewise on your fingerprint, you have dirt on your finger, you have water on your finger, you cut your fingertip in some way, shape, or form. Each of those biometric criteria has a threshold for tolerable error. And most people don't consider that. You consider that, well, I only have one face, I only have one fingerprint, this is foolproof. Well, it's not, because if your phone were to actually have a 100% threshold to let people in using your biometrics, your phone would almost never let you in, because there's always something that's going to change it in some infinitesimal way. So the way that I would kind of get people to understand the vulnerabilities of biometrics is, what if someone was able to access your account by guessing 80% of your password? Would you feel confident about your password? I'm assuming not. So why would you trust the entirety of your financial security to 80% of your fingerprint or 80% of your facial details? Now, these are things that sound like crazy deep end of the pool concepts, but they're really not. And more as our devices get more sophisticated and these options become, at the forefront of our technology, these are things that people should understand. And there's little incremental changes that people can make. You start with better high entry passwords that are run through a password manager, and understanding the benefits of 2FA via an authenticator versus 2FA via text message. And then you go one step further from there and you go 2FA via YubiKey, or something even more sophisticated than your typical, Authy or Google Authenticator app. Likewise, you can take privacy precautions on your devices itself. Maybe you realize that Apple can see all of your pictures, so you migrate from Apple to Android, and then from Android you realize that you have some more control because it's a little bit more open source. But maybe you still aren't a big fan of all of the data leaks that come along with agreeing to Google Play services. You have alternatives from there. You can look from Google Play services to running a de-Googled version of your Android phone on like a Pixel device, running Graphene or Calyx, where you're getting all of the functionality that you need specific to what you want to use it for. And at the very least, you get more user control over the compromises that you're willing to make to your privacy or security in order to get the trade-off of the convenience or the feature set that you want. So, like I said, this is stuff that I can obviously go on about this week after week for hours on end, but some things that I think people often overlook because it sounds like you either need to be too technical or it's not worth your time because I'm losing my information somewhere anyway, or I've got nothing to hide. Now, everybody thinks about that I've got nothing to hide thing, especially when it comes to KYC or self-sovereignty or aspects of that in the crypto space. And they go, well, I'm not going to use it for nefarious purposes. And everybody fixates on the, I don't need to evade taxes. It's not about tax evasion. It's not about trusting your government or anybody you think you're giving the information to. But this information lives immutably for the rest of time. This data exists in perpetuity. So you may trust everything that you think you're compromised to today, but you can't envision what the future holds, and you can't envision what maybe other countries or bad actors elsewhere or abroad may be able to do with that data should they be able to access it. And you see constantly in the news, week after week after week, these wide-scale data breaches where just metadata is leaked, just personal information, identifiable information, there's breach after breach after breach after breach, and it's consistently people that are data mining information that people thought that they had no problem sharing because they were trusting the party that they shared it with. And that's all well and good until that party loses control of that information. So I would just like to advocate that everybody take a little bit more personal responsibility and a little bit of time to better inform yourselves on what your optionality really is when it comes to privacy in the space. And I'll leave it there because I have a feeling we're going to revisit some of these topics because they kind of overlap with some of the other points that I know that we'll mention tonight. I know that when we get over to Frankie, he's going to talk a little bit about his road from novice to his current skill set in the space, and I know that a lot of that will overlap with privacy and self-sovereignty and some of those angles as well. So
Yeah, absolutely. Just a second, McDuff. Yeah, no, appreciate that insight. And it's, I mean, you can never be too safe. You think, I mean, a lot of us have gone way, like kind of all into crypto. So you can never be too safe for that money. It's always worth at least diving into it, researching and knowing your risk. But what's going on, McDuff? How are you?
Hey, everybody. I'm doing great. I was just going to, kind of agree with what Michael was saying. I spent most of my professional career before I quit to just do crypto, basically figuring out how to break into people's accounts as a living, legally, of course, not like underground shit. And yeah, like really, you're never going to have perfect security and you don't need to feel like you have to. It's about layering together enough, layers of armor that you're going to be able to stop most attacks. And when you have enough good security hygiene to basically prevent yourself from getting hit with the random stuff, you need to set up countermeasures so that you can respond if you get actually targeted. Because, if somebody who really knows what they're doing targets you, eventually they'll get in, which is why it's so important to have things set up like, yes, you need the two-factor authentication and you should use an auth app, not the SMS. You should have login notifications set up. So, hey, why did I just log into my account from Panama? Like at some point, everybody is going to be breached somehow, whether it's for crypto or not. So just set yourself up to be able to respond and not, 2 weeks later realize that you're no longer a crypto millionaire. That's really important. And one thing that I would say, even though you shouldn't be using SMS for two-factor authentication, you should still call your phone company and have them put a note on your account that you are not to be SIM swapped unless you are physically in a store with an ID. Because, there's still a 20% chance that some ding-dong tech support agent will allow them to do it anyways, but at least 80% of the time somebody attempts, they'll be like, sorry, sir, there's a note on your account that says you can only SIM swap in store. So, cheers.
Yeah, that's good insight. Thank you for that. Definitely something I'm going to look into, actually. But Obi-Wan, appreciate you coming up here. You got anything to share, my friend?
Yeah, I was just on the topics of security. Does blockchain technology help us, like with digital IDs, maybe through Ocean Protocol or like Harmony One, putting basically a wallet in terms of a smart contract, or Cardano with Tala Prism? If we get digital IDs on the blockchain and we can authenticate maybe through a YubiKey or a ledger, is that going to be the most secure options we should be considering? And then I guess after the typical 2FA, how would that work cross-platform?
Well, I mean, you're definitely going to be more secure doing that, but you give up a lot of privacy. So that's, really the trade-off. And what kind of Michael was getting at, I think, is you can be very secure and give up a lot of privacy, or you can be very private and, be very secure but not have much usability. Like there's a whole sort of counterbalancing you need to do. So those digitally authenticated things are certainly very secure and good authentication, but if your ID is tied to it, if privacy is your main goal, then you've given some of that up in most cases.
And then there's also the matter that comes up quite frequently, which is if you should meet your untimely demise, how do your loved ones acquire your funds and information?
So I'll touch on that one because I've unfortunately had to deal with this entirely too much recently. So I think I touched on it on last week's Spaces. Somebody reached out to me before they were going in for surgery, asking for advice on it. We've obviously also had a member of the community pass away very early on in the history of Heroes. So one thing that I would suggest at a very simple level, just in terms of passwords, I'm not talking seed phrases or anything like that. You should never put your seed phrases in anything, even password managers, if you're self-custodying assets. But if you're talking custodial assets on exchange platforms, the service with which I'm the most familiar would be LastPass. LastPass, Bitwarden, and 1Password tend to be the three that rise to the forefront of the password managers. But the way that I know that it works with LastPass, just so I can speak with good intel, is they have a beneficiary program, which is nice. You can essentially use that password manager to set up high entropy randomized passwords that are unique to each account that you have, that are all guarded by a master password that you set with LastPass. But they also have a beneficiary feature where you can designate X number of next of kin that are your emergency access contacts. And in the event of your untimely demise, they are equipped with a protocol to contact LastPass to request access to your account. And the preventive measure that prevents them from basically commandeering your accounts while you're still alive would be, if they were to initiate that protocol, LastPass would reach out to you immediately and frequently for the course of like 48 hours or a week, or there's a set lockup period. And I don't remember if it's 48 hours, 72 hours, or a week, honestly. But long story short, if they reach out to you within that period of time and you answer them, then obviously they know that you haven't met your untimely demise, and they don't release access to your accounts. However, should you actually go silent for that period of time, then they would release your password vault to your next of kin that you designated. It's not like they go in and make changes and say after the fact, like, oh, well, I was his best friend, or I'm his long lost brother. Nobody can add themselves to that list. So in that way, it's kind of like a revocable trust that you can modify for the period of time that you're alive. And I'm equating it to trust, but in no way is it legally binding. It doesn't forego probate or anything like that. This isn't legal advice from an estates law perspective. But in terms of the mechanism, that's the way it works. You can manipulate it for as long as you maintain access to your account, but then should you meet your untimely demise, it essentially becomes set in stone as to who could access your account and under what conditions. And LastPass would go ahead and confirm with you whether or not they could give over access to your vault, and your lack of response would be that confirmation. So they're confirming that via a negative response.
Oh, okay, that's good, because I use LastPass, and I think I've got that set up, and then I've also got the, if my Google account isn't used for so many days, then it goes to my wife, an email for her to access. But that's good to know I'm on the right path.
Yeah, absolutely. And if we're talking, if you want to go real deep into the pool, you can, if you're talking self-custody and like seed phrases or anything like that, you can do Schnorr secret sharing. You could use seed XOR. There's a number of different clever ways that you can use cryptographics and ciphers to, pretend or create a multi-sig solution that, it parses your seed into separate pieces that can only work when put together, or there's a bunch of clever ways that you can kind of self-manage that disaster plan. And then obviously there's the legal system. You can use lawyers or trust attorneys or things along those lines. But people that tend to go deep into the pool of decentralization in the crypto space tend to also not trust lawyers, just like they don't trust really anything systemic. So if that's not a hang up for you, you can certainly go that route. I would say that the right plan is definitely something that is specific to the individual, because it depends on, a lot of it will depend on whether or not the assets are KYC'd and what that person's relationship is with trusting central authority.
Yeah, great info, great stuff. And it's just like definitely stuff that people need to look into, because once again, you can never be too secure. And with crypto, I mean, you are at risk of losing everything if, something does happen to you. So just always kind of have it prepared so people aren't dealing with it later. But Stone Cold, I got a question from Minion, sorry. Just kind of, can you explain like the VGX dilution supply over the year, like year over year?
Yeah, so with the first year, you're getting the 40 million for the growth pool that's going to be used for marketing and paying out rewards such as cashback trading. And it also includes the LGO token swap, which is the doorway to get into Europe faster. So that's the whole reason you're getting the dilution with the LGO swap to VGX 2.0. And then you have the remaining years. I don't have the graphic pulled up, but it goes like 20 million, 10 million over the next 7 years is how far they have listed it out. So yeah, there is an inflationary aspect to the growth pool going forward, which, at first glance you would say, well, it's just inflating. I mean, the US dollar is doing that. Why would I want VGX? But the growth is the big factor in making that really irrelevant. Because month over month, from the last quarterly filings, we had, I think it was 122 million VGX that were held within the community. And the last number Steve threw out on DJ's podcast, I think it was last week, was 180 million if you kind of put a statement together. So you're looking at a 10 million token increase per month within the community. And you see a lot of people freaking out that, oh, it's the growth pool's going up 20 million next year, 10 million, year 5. That's a month or two of growth with just the current user base. That's not including Europe, Canada, New York. Once marketing kicks off, getting more of the other users in the 49 states that already have access. So that's kind of where the growth is at. And some people have a problem with it, but I mean, growth has not slowed down with the token ownership. If that slows down, sure, you can have a conversation about that and kind of look and see where the plan's at. But every single quarterly filing has gone up and up and up. I know we only have like 4 data points from the filings, but the line is going from 60 million up to 180 million now, and it has not dipped. So until that happens, I don't see any reason for concern, and the dilution's only getting less and less going forward.
Hey,
Yeah,
Stone
appreciate
Cold,
that.
could you be specific about the interest and where that comes from? Is that part of that 40 million, or is that on top of the 40 million for this year example?
Yeah, so that's on top of the 40 million. You can see that on Etherscan about 6 days ago. You see the daily increase in the tokens being minted. So if you go to Etherscan and search VGX, you're going to see the old token, then the new token. And then every single day there's a transaction. It's called Black Hole with a bunch of X's and zeros. And that's where you can see the tokens that are being generated via interest. And it's about high 34,000 per day now. So that's something you can keep a track on to see when those are getting minted and what that number is at per day.
Definitely so. Thank you for that. Hopefully that answered his question. Floki, you have anything else on it?
No, because I feel like everyone's really focused on the interest inflationary mechanism, I would imagine. So that's the focus. That's the highlight of VGX right now, is that 7%.
Yeah, and at the end of the year, we're going to have to vote on it. So who knows where VGX is going to be, what the VLP is going to have what it entails, what other prospects are coming down the pipeline. I mean, it's really exciting stuff. Interest might be the lowest totem pole with stuff that's coming in the year. So you can look as far out as you want, but I mean, we all really have no idea about where Voyager and VGX are going to be in the next year. So it's kind of a fruitless endeavor trying to look 7 years out to see what's coming.
And the whole point in what you're trying to say is that the user growth and just platform adoption is faster than whatever mechanism is contributing to the pool.
So much faster.
Yeah, that's the key here, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was about to say the biggest of the marketing pushes haven't even occurred yet, and even pushing VGX hasn't been a heavy push yet. So all these things will come in due time and only accelerate more. Not financial advice. Thor, do you want to kind of get into kind of what you're seeing in the market and maybe even talk about your Bitcoin dominance chart and things along that line? Oh, you may have missed him. Sunzu, do you want to get into the Discord and kind of things with that moving forward? and potentially movie night and things like that?
Yeah, sure. Here, let me just pull it up real quick. So for anybody here, if you don't know, we have a Discord server, and that is where it's like the heart of everything going on, because we've got a lot of people that are on Twitter. We've got people who don't have Twitter and are on Facebook or Instagram, whatever social media outlet it may be. The Discord is like a central hub, and we've got so many different channels. I'm just scrolling through now. The ones that are available to most people once you become a hero. Actually, I'll start there. We have an onboarding team, and you can reach out to them. They'll get you all set up with a hero, introduce you to the community, etc. And then we've got other channels as far as sports, gaming. We've got a movie night, which we're doing one this Friday. I believe it's going to be 8:30 p.m. Eastern this Friday. You can hop in the Discord and just hang out with the other people watching the same movie. Whole bunch of stuff. Functional teams. That's a good one to touch on. Essentially, what that is excuse me. We've got heroes that have kind of come together in groups, and Aragorn organized them. So we've got a creative team, an education team, which you see a lot of them up here tonight. We've got onboarding, social media, tech, stuff like that. And I don't want anyone to be like intimidated by all this. It's very open-ended, and if you feel that you or someone who's interested in VGX or the heroes or whatnot would like to be a part of one of those teams, all you have to do is ask. You just say, hey, this is something I'm good at, or this is something I'm interested in, and you can join one of those teams and participate. And we've got more things in the works to kind of build upon those, but for now, I would suggest that everyone at least hop in the Discord and just take a look at it, because it's where you're going to get the most information. With the Twitter, we post a lot of things here and there, quick little news updates or community updates, but the Discord is where it's really all going on, and you can go back and look at things and share pictures and fun stuff. So that's I guess my spiel on the Discord, and hope that everybody would at least take a look at it.
Yeah, definitely. So a lot of great things happen over there, and you get a lot of engagement. And it's very topic specific. So if there's any question, you can ask and go to a specific channel and have people that are super knowledgeable in that. So it's great. It's a great tool, and a lot more behind the scenes definitely goes down there. So I'd love to have you, and just some pointers on it. There's a lot of notifications with Discord. So just any channel that you're not interested in, you can just set it to mute, and you won't get any notifications from it. But yeah, I'm going to pass it over to Michael now.
Thanks, Pat. So, as everybody saw, we have a new member of our education team on the panel tonight, and that would be Frankie. Frankie and I go back a long ways. We've kind of been together in the recent stretch of this crypto journey. So we've been very close as far as our learning path, and I wanted to give him an opportunity to kind of answer some questions about his development from being a novice in a non-tech background to being, able to go toe-to-toe with some of the more technical folks in the space. And Frank, if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to ask you what along the way you found to be the best resource for learning the information to kind of catch up, to go from layman to high-level technical on a particular topic. What those topics that you found that were the most important to delve into, that you think every novice should try to improve their skill set at, and then what you thought the best resources to get there were.
Thank you, Michael. Frankie here. I go by the, I think I introduced myself earlier, but I think one of my favorite resources is Jameson Lopp has a Bitcoin specific privacy website. lop.net, and that's where I got a lot of my information. It kind of scared the shit out of me, to be perfectly honest. As Michael, you know. And from there, there's various channels that I listen to. But before I get kind of into that, just going back to a point you made earlier about end-to-end encryption. I did see a lot of the heroes kind of posting screenshots of their buy orders, redacted, obviously, but I think we should all understand, and I think McDuck might have kind of suggested this as well, is that especially if you have an iPhone, these pictures or screenshots get saved to the cloud, which is or iCloud, which is not end-to-end encryption. So all someone needs is to get an administrative password, and they can basically see everything you have saved on your phone. So I would say rule number one for me is never take a screenshot of any of your investments. Obviously, never your seed phrases of any sort. If you have in the past, please empty that account and throw it into a new wallet. But from there, I guess I could give you kind of the channels that I've focused on YouTube, and the information that I've gotten from there. If you think that's worthwhile.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. I think the first one that got me to understand a lot of complex kind of concepts is Andreas Antonopoulos. He's got a YouTube channel. He's got great technical knowledge that he really breaks down very easily. And I use his channel to understand very, very difficult concepts, such as for me personally, it was how a seed phrase and entropy and kind of the deviation paths work with wallets. So he has a really good tutorial on that. BTC sessions, again, another good one for wallet reviews. He's a bit of a Bitcoin maxi, so if that's not kind of your flavor, maybe you might want to stay away from his channel. Hashtoshi, a great altcoin channel. He really understands various projects that are coming up. And then another guy is Ian Major, more BTC focused, but great reviews on wallets and privacy. Crypto Dad, great channel for how to download wallets. This guy was how I learned to kind of check the actual download to a PGP signature. And as I found out today, that's very deep end of the pool. Basically, you want to make sure that what you're downloading is from the actual source and not some ransomware that you're downloading onto your computer. And then if you're getting deep into the pool or deep into the dark end of the pool, Tales from the Crypt, they are ones that basically, I joke with Michael a lot on this. I at one point was ready to just do a cup and string to communicate with people and carrier pigeons, because they go deep into the sovereignty and privacy subject. And again, another channel that really scares me. But I think what I want to kind of tell everyone is that this is not a hard subject to learn, whether it be understanding projects or understanding privacy. you know, I had zero knowledge coming into this back in October. I mean, I thought, you know, Ethereum and Bitcoin blockchains were the same thing. All right. So I don't think anyone should be intimidated by our speakers here. They are, you know, very knowledgeable, very articulate, but are there to help you as well. So I guess my point is, you know, no question can be too stupid. I think, you know, I learned something new from the most basic questions. So I think we're just here to help in any way we can. So with that, you know, I'm happy to answer any questions in my, you know, in my purview.
Yeah, definitely so. And I appreciate you sharing that. The question I kind of have for you, how was like when you were first learning about Voyager and things like that? Like, what was the easiest things to grasp and maybe more complex things to grasp?
For Voyager specific, I would say, oh man, understand, well, from a company perspective, understanding how their business model works. I think once you understood that it is a broker dealer and not so much an exchange, that they are immune to, you know, bull and bear cycles. As long as people are trading on the platform, they're going to make money. And yeah, I mean, that was kind of once you got over that hurdle, understanding what they do, how they do it, and then the potential of bringing over, you know, there's rumors of them, you know, bringing over, you know, kind of an equities business. You know, that's going to only help their bottom line because it's a spread business, right? So bid ask spread, that's where they make the money. It's not going to be a market cycle. So that was, once I understood that concept, I knew that, you know, Voyager was going to take off.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just always curious to just kind of get like different people's idea, because everybody's journey to Voyager was different, and just always curious what, you know, the harder things are to get behind Voyager, things like that. But anybody else have any questions for Frankie? Trying to think of another one for you. When you got into VGX Heroes, how was that?
Sorry, in terms of
just kind of your experience with it and everything.
I was a bit slow to it, only because there was a lot of different channels. They were all great channels, but once you started to, I mean, the way my mind works with anything is, I have to, even if I'll reach higher than my knowledge is at that point. So if I retain 10%, 20% of something, I'll just review it again. With the Voyager kind of channel and Discord, it was a lot of information at first, to be perfectly honest. But once you start to kind of grasp what channels you're more interested in, it really took off from there. So yeah.
Yeah, happy to hear that. Sorry I know I'm throwing these questions at you on the spot, but yeah, appreciate that. Love to hear a question for somebody else one. Floki or Sunzu, you have anything?
Not right. In my head. No, I'm trying to think of some. I'm also making some food, so I'm a little distracted, but I am listening.
No worries. Well, if anybody has any questions or anything, feel free to request.
I got a question, actually. Tell us a good story about Michael Don Corleone. Something funny. since you know him so well and you guys go back so far?
Oh man. Yeah. Let's see. Michael, I'm gonna, this is a rough one because there's a lot of good stories. Okay, so we had just gotten back from college. Dad had a nice sports car. Sitting at a light, guy next to us is looking at us wanting to race. Michael looks at me and says, "Burn him," and I do. But the thing that I failed to realize was there was a cop behind me. So that was an interesting night. And I'll leave it at that.
Oh man, that was a total setup. That person who revved the engine knew there was a cop behind you.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I was young and dumb. So
To be fair, we had enough PBA cards to make a fucking full house, and we fed half the cops in the town for years. So it really was. It was only a panic, probably because of our age and stupidity, but our actual risk level was pretty low.
Indeed. Yeah, but luckily our parents never found out, which was amazing.
So you think?
Unless they're listening right now.
No. Yeah, no, they'd. I don't think. At least my parents are not that technically advanced.
Thanks for sharing the good little story there. Can we get some 100s for our Frankie, for Jack Nicholson? I remember him joining pretty early on. He's an OG for sure.
Thank you, Floki.
Definitely so. Love all the 100s. Thank you, guys. We got about an hour left to go. So if you are joining in, haven't tweeted yet, we'd appreciate you tweeting us out, spreading the word. And we'd also love for a new speaker, anybody to come up here. So just request if you want to do that. But till then, I'll push it to Michael. So people kind of been asking on mining, and even you could touch on nodes as well.
Yeah, so these have both been hot topics lately, which I'm happy to hear. But as far as mining, we touched on it briefly last week, and a couple people followed up with some questions. Mining is becoming more and more accessible to people, especially with products like Compass Mining or Blockware Solutions coming out, where you can have hosted mining, where you could buy ASICs and put them on a rack in an actual data center and actually have all the benefits of, the reason why mining has become difficult for the home miner is that by the time you build up all your infrastructure, there's really not a lot left for you to profit. So home mining has kind of been confined to the true passion plays, the people that are either truly into it for the fundamentalist perspective on self-sovereignty, or the folks that need non-KYC Bitcoin and a way to make it for maybe some of the reasons that don't need to be discussed. But anywho, it's never been a good profit mechanism because there's always that fallback excuse or fallback kind of critique that you'd never come out ahead. You were always better off just spending whatever money you spent on the tech and the electricity and just buying Bitcoin itself. That the investment itself in mining doesn't outpace the investment in the underlying asset. And I would say that for once that is shifting in a way that it is accessible to the common man. So it's always been beneficial to mine for these big institutional miners that spin up data centers or have access to cheap hydroelectric power or methane, uncapped methane flares that are otherwise going to be wasted energy. They've got an easy mechanism to profit, but most Joe Schmoes couldn't, whereas now they can, because with hosted mining solutions, you can actually buy the ASIC, and because you actually own the underlying asset, you can benefit from the same, depreciation and amortization of that asset that the big fellows would use, or that any kind of bean counter accountant, the true corporate outlook on the space would use. So because it's equipment in the space, you'd be able to depreciate it on a 5-year scale. So if you spent 10 grand on it, you'd immediately be able to offset $2,000 of your income for each of the first 5 years that you own it. That helps mitigate maybe some short-term capital gains that you book. So depending on the timing of it all and how you use it, you can also amortize the unit. And the beauty part of it is that you are mining Bitcoin at basically the cost of electricity. And for all intents and purposes, there's a time preference that goes into the buying and selling of miners, where if you bought your miner and you plugged it in when the price was cheap, and then in the period of time that you were running it, the price of Bitcoin were to skyrocket, then the price of those miners tends to skyrocket with it, and people get that kind of FOMO sensation wanting to buy that asset itself, the miner itself, the ASIC, at a higher price. So there's a hypothetical where, if you subscribe to the theory that Bitcoin is going to go to six figures by the end of the year, or even in the Q1 of next year, long story short, if you believe that the price goes up from here, regardless of what you believe it goes up to, suffice it to say, if you believe that the bull run is not over, if you were to buy a miner at current prices, which they tend to be about 20% of the price of Bitcoin, then you could mine Bitcoin for the foreseeable future as it continues to go up. And you would, even if you stayed on par and you broke even on the cost of mining the Bitcoin versus the cost of buying the Bitcoin, the benefit to actually pursuing the mining route is that the price of that miner at the peak of a bull run would be able to be flipped and sold for incrementally higher than if it were invested in Bitcoin itself, plus you get to keep the Bitcoin. So it's a way of kind of juicing it for the Bitcoin, yet still being able to resell the used asset for more than what you initially paid for it. There's this perfect kind of cosmic alignment that can happen if you time it right, where you get to benefit from the mining itself and benefit from the non-KYC Bitcoin that you yield from it, while still potentially depreciating the asset and or amortizing the asset or flipping the asset and selling it at a peak. So there's a number of kind of traditional corporate tactics that one could take to benefit from mining Bitcoin in this environment. And I speak of the Bitcoin perspective. You may want to go to Airborne after me to talk about, I know he's getting into KC or CKB mining. But, speaking from a purely Bitcoin perspective, I would say that it's in some ways a rite of passage that I think everyone should partake in, because in the process of participating in the mining experience, what it forces you to do along the way is spin up a node, understand the actual foundation of the fundamental case for Bitcoin, not the investment case for Bitcoin, and understand the mechanisms for self-custody, for self-sovereignty, for privacy, for anonymity, all of these things that I tend to touch on week after week because I've kind of fallen down those rabbit holes. I think that the mining experience is the most natural way to acquire that information, because sometimes you kind of have to be nudged in a direction. Otherwise, it's just kind of boring to sit there. It's a dry topic to sit there and learn just arbitrarily, and most people don't have an interest or a need to do so. But if you have an interest in the mining space, it forces your hand at it makes you want to take an interest and need to take an interest in all of those other things. So I think as far as a rite of passage in the crypto space in general, and then particularly with Bitcoin, I think it's a beautiful natural progression that everyone should at least experience. So as far as spinning up a node, there were some conversations on Twitter earlier today. I know that there's a number of out-of-the-box solutions. Umbrel just came out with one. I think Nodl, NODL, is another, just buy it, plug it in kind of solution. And that's all well and good, but I would highly advocate to anybody that's interested in actually running a node that you build it yourself, because it's cheaper, it's more secure. It's, when you're buying from a Bitcoin specific operation, you now have an attack vector that is their supply chain. When you build a node from computer components that are multi-purpose, that people could be buying for any reason whatsoever, a Raspberry Pi is a generic computing component. It's not Bitcoin specific. A solid state drive, a 1 terabyte solid state drive, is not Bitcoin specific. There is no specific attack vector where someone may introduce something that compromises that device in order to someday have like what's called a retirement attack, where they sit there and passively wait in the background for it to acquire enough value to then attack at the end and take off. Those are not likely when you're using generic components like Raspberry Pis and micro SD cards and solid state. They're super simple. The build process is incredibly fun. I mean, I have 2 small kids. I built nodes with my kids. Frank and I have built nodes together. I've built nodes for other people. It's a fun enough project. I would say anybody over the age of 5 could probably do it. And in so doing, you learn so much along the way that you had no, like Frank was talking about verifying PGP signatures earlier today. That's such a ridiculous deep end of the pool subject for probably 90% of the people on this call. But it's something that once you do it, you understand the reason why you would do it. You understand that it's not as intimidating as you may think. You understand the value in doing it. And it just helps enable you to be more in self-control of those kind of things going forward. So in terms of the software that you use, in terms of how it's used, in terms of building the hardware, it's an incredibly fun thing to do. It's an incredibly valuable thing to do in the space. And I could not possibly recommend it more. But I want to get to Crypto Airborne at some point about the CKB mining, but I do see you with your hand up there, Frank, so I'll pivot over to you a minute because I know that your mining experience is not going to be related to anything but Bitcoin, so go for it.
Yeah, I just want to echo kind of the topic you just mentioned with regards to the running your own node. I'd like to say that before we built the node, it was kind of like, oh, crypto goes up. Why did it go up? I don't know. Elon said something. Why did Cardano go up? I don't know. Charles promised that something else was gonna go online soon, and we never really it was kind of, that was our intellectual conversation on those things. Once and it's kind of a weird kind of an enlightenment type of situation. Once we built our own node, there was all these other things that it exposed us to. It was like, oh man, that we have to make sure we're big boys and girls now. We have to make sure that we do this right, otherwise we lose a lot of money. We have to make sure that this code is correct. We have to make sure that we have our privacy intact, our anonymity intact. So I think running, at least for me, building my own node, which is an easy thing to do, I am not a smart man, was one of the things that basically glued everything together, and kind of it was a kind of a light bulb moment where it's like, wow, this is how everything fits together. This is why I should learn it. This is now fun. So that was probably something I should have mentioned earlier when kind of how I went from 0 to where I am now. I think the parabolic type of learning happened after I built the node. So just my 2 cents there.
Yeah, and I've went in the rabbit hole of a node, and it's something I do want to do. I even talked with Michael about it, but I haven't done it yet. But I agree. I've gotten deep into the Bitcoins and just kind of understanding from the fundamental basic level and just the different strategies with it. It's a cool journey, but it's a lot of information.
We're building you a node as soon as you get back from North Kakalaki, don't you worry.
Looking forward to it.
All right, Airborne. I know that you don't like to speak to the technical side of anything, and I know that SixFig is really the one that led the charge on CKB mining, but tell us what you do now.
My CKB mining, yeah, I ordered 2 gold shell CKB miners from China, and it's still processing now. But I think when I talked to SixFig, he said it took 4 or 5 days to process, and then they shipped it over within 3 to 4 days. So I'm mainly looking into his video that he put out, and I'm actually good friends with him, so he just walks me through everything. But I got 2 gold shell miners. I'm getting a power supply here soon, and that's what he's running right now. And he's making between $300 to $400, or not $300 to $400, 300 to 400 CKB a day. And granted, it's only, I don't even know, a penny and a half right now or whatever. But that's just something that he's been getting into, and I got into it. And there's just a lot of things. He has a camera that's set up that he can view from his phone, where if there's any noises or something, it'll ping the camera so he can see if they caught on fire or something or whatnot. He's got a fire extinguisher. There's different types of fire extinguishers. One that puts out electronics, so you got to make sure that's applicable or whatever. But yeah, it's crazy the way that that he's making so much right now. I think he just ordered another one right now, so he's just letting that run pretty much 24/7. And he had 2 power supplies running to it. He had the one, I forget the brand name, but the other one was like some Chinese one. It popped one of his circuit breakers, so I guess he had like a really good surge protector, which prevented it from like messing anything up in the house. But it's just kind of interesting because I'm just now getting into all this, and I know you guys are like all experts at it, but I just want to see the other side of the house of it. But that's pretty much where I'm at right now.
So I know you're not up and running yet, but let's talk specifics. So I know you posted your receipts with what it cost you to get involved the other day. What are you anticipating as far as your daily profit? Question number 1. Question number 2, do you plan on keeping your spoils in CKB, or do you plan on flipping it for something else?
That's a great question. I'll probably just hold on to the CKB because they have a Neuron wallet that I think that you can directly stake to that and earn like 3% interest. So then if the price goes up, that's just even more in your pocket. But I was actually texting Sixfig earlier, and I'm seeing what he said because I'm pretty much going to run the exact same setup as he is. But I think he said, I got to go back up a little bit. But he was making between like 200 and 300 CKB a day, and he just ordered a third one, but I can't find exactly. But yeah, I'll probably keep a little bit and then transfer a little bit over because I think you can only do transfers with crypto.com for CKB. So he has it either automatically go into that or his staking wallet. I don't know what he has.
All right, and what about your helium mining? You get that? I was gonna joke and call it a pyramid scheme, but I know people are making money on it. So, did you get that thing up and running yet?
Not yet. I'm still waiting. I ordered that thing back in May, and I know there's a huge back order. People that like ordered in January got theirs in like April or May. So I'm expecting it probably next month I'll be getting it. But that's a whole nother thing that I want to get into. And I know there was one Vgx hero that was really into helium mining, like really knowledgeable. And I don't remember who it was. I'd have to go back in the Discord, but I definitely want to do like a helium mining video on my channel too, like how all that works, because that literally uses no energy. It's just like plugging in a router, getting the right DBI antenna hooked up to like the top of your house or wherever as high as you can get it, and then connecting hopefully with other nodes in your area, because they have a whole map and you can see if there's other helium mining people in your area, and then the more you can connect, I guess, is the more helium that you yield. But that's a whole other conversation.
I very much want to revisit this when you get up and running, because I am super curious to hear your take on it.
Yeah, for sure.
I have heard the polar opposite sides of the spectrum and nobody in between. It is either a complete pyramid scheme crock of shit or a crazy moneymaker, and I've found that the breakdown tends to fall on how urban the area where you live is. And my understanding is that you can make buckets of money. I mean, nobody knows if helium token is going to be worth a shit for more than 5 seconds. So I would say that my inclination would be to flip it for something that actually has more store value immediately. But it seems that people in high, dense populated areas can make buckets of money, and then they're basically then trying to sell the pyramid to people that live in more suburban or potentially rural areas, and then those people end up being the bag holders on it. But it seems to be this kind of like split culture of people that either absolutely make a killing or get wrecked.
Yeah, like if you're out in the middle of nowhere and there's no one else around you, you're not going to make anything. But if you're like kind of in like a suburban area, like I'm around the Philly area, and I pull up the map, you can actually see like the name of each person and about how much they're making, like in helium per, I think, day and month or whatever. So you can see who's the most profitable. But then again, like you were saying, if you're the first one in your area and then all of a sudden they start popping up around you, you're kind of like the head node for helium, but then they kind of like leech off you, but they make a little bit. So I don't know. I still got to look into it. And actually, now that we're talking about it, I have my cousin's friend. He like linked me up with him. He had a whole business model with helium. Like he created an LLC, and what he was going to do was he was going to go to like apartment complexes like around his city and set up the helium routers or whatever, and then kind of just give back 10% of his profits to whoever the owner is or whatever. So he would go around the town, set up all these helium, and just make money. Just, it keeps coming in helium or whatever. But it's definitely something to look into.
All right. Well, thanks for that. We'll definitely circle back to that in future weeks. So, Queen of Sparta, I see you're up here. Let's toss you the ball. And sorry, I just realized that Pepe got kicked out. So I'll take lead for now. So, Queen of Sparta, let's go to you next. And then Aldo, I see you there requested. I'll add you on as a speaker. If you could just mute yourself, let's get your Queen of Sparta, and then you'll be up next. All right.
Hey, thanks, Michael. I just wanted to shout out a big thank you to you and Frankie. I'm like totally excited about this idea of building a node. You said anyone over the age of 5 could do it, but I have a 4-year-old and I don't mind pushing her a little bit. So sounds like an awesome project and I'm totally excited about it. And I just want to say, like, the light bulby kind of moment that I think it was Frankie that talked about. Like, I had that in 1999 when my then boyfriend, now husband, proposed that he would make a computer for me when I suggested I was going to go buy one, and how much money do you think I should spend? And he's like, "Oh, I'll make it for you." I'm like, okay. Like, I literally handed him $1,000 and he went and got all the parts, and when he put it together, I was like, okay, what are you doing? What is everything? Show me what it is. And it was like, I didn't realize at the time that it was such an education, but even 5-10 years later, when I was working with people with computers, like you need a new video card. This video card's not fast enough. And my boss is like, huh? She's like, well, order one up. I'm like, okay. So I'm like super excited and just wanted to say thank you so much. And I love this group, and I'm really, really thankful that the heroes are on. I hope Pepe's he's back. Okay, good.
Well, thanks for showing up. And absolutely, when you're ready to build, you let me know. Hit me up via DM, and I'll be happy to walk you through it. And that offer stands for anybody in the space. I commented on somebody's tweet earlier tonight when they were putting the Umbrel, out of the box solution out there for people. If anybody in the community wants to actually build their own node, by all means, reach out to me, and I'll walk you through how to do it for half the price of that turnkey solution, and you'll be 10 times as secure because you'll be doing it with generic computing parts and not something that could potentially be supply chain compromised from a Bitcoin only supplier. So I would gladly walk anybody through that. Roughly you're into it for between $200 and $250 in equipment, and then depending on whether or not you want to pay for software or just run completely freeware, there's a couple different matters of convenience that I feel like are worth paying for, but you can be all in for anywhere between $250 and $350. And I'm not looking for a dime. I just want to encourage people to educate themselves on it. So I'm happy to help. And whenever you're ready, you reach out. The only thing I will say is when you do, we'll figure out a way to communicate on a platform that's either end-to-end encrypted or speak in a platform that's not going to compromise your OPSEC, because there are some aspects of getting it up and running where you have to take some decisions into consideration that will impact the long-term privacy, security, anonymity, and overall operational security of your nodes. So those are things that you typically don't want to discuss via either a chat function that's not end-to-end encrypted, or definitely not on a voice chat that's being recorded and archived on YouTube. So we can talk offline about the specificity of those things, but I would gladly walk anybody in this community through that process.
I'm already thinking, man, thanks for offering that. Maybe you want to consider a video tutorial or some sort of other video tutorial that already exists to walk people through it. Save yourself the trouble from doing it over and over again, because I have a feeling based off the way you're talking about it, you're going to have some people hitting up your DMs for this. That's
fine. I'd be happy to do it. But as far as a video tutorial, I would say that there's probably none better than BTC Sessions about the build of the nodes, because he does a MyNode version, he does an Umbrel version. I would also suggest people take a look at Ministry of Nodes, who has a channel on YouTube. Matt Odell with Tales from the Crypt is a privacy and sovereignty savant in the space. I would defer to him on all things privacy and OPSEC. But check out the BTC Sessions videos. He's got a few different examples of how to build them, the physical build. But there's a lot more to it than just the physical build, and there's nuance to the differences between the freeware version of MyNode versus the paid version of MyNode versus Raspberry Blitz versus Umbrel versus running Bitcoin Core. A lot of it is going to be, taking one step deeper into the pool of going, all right, well, do I want something that's easy with one-click updates and a cushy, GUI, graphic interface for, let me just keep it simple. So a graphic user interface versus CLI, which would be a command line interface. So if you don't if you don't see yourself as the Mr. Robot type that's going to be entering all your commands at the command line, then you probably want to err on the side of something with a graphic user interface. So that would be, taking you towards MyNode or Umbrel. And then even within MyNode and Umbrel has a ton of different apps that you can build in that are easy to install. Like you can run Sphinx Chat or a Matrix server for basically completely sovereign end-to-end encrypted messaging, kind of to supplant Telegram or Signal or WhatsApp. Those things can all be built into Umbrel. Whereas on the MyNode side, you've got considerations to take for OpenVPN, for Tor, for onion routing, the things that help you maintain your privacy and anonymity. There's just a ton of nuance to it. So I would still say my offer still stands. I'll still walk you through the parts that sound like I'm speaking in hieroglyphics right now. So none of it's as intimidating as I may be making it sound. I know that I talk fast, but I also know that these are recorded. And for the 90% of the people that I'm boring to tears, the other 10% can always play this back on YouTube and slow me down or reach out to me. So I'm making sure that I get the info out there, and I'd be happy to walk anybody through it at their pace.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, actually. I'm going to
And you're appreciated. I was just going to say, Michael, you're appreciated. While we move on to the next subject, take a look at Crypto Cartel's profile.
Oh, boy.
Where's he at? He's not even showing up on my screen. Oh, wait. No, I'm seeing him.
His new profile picture. He knows what's going on here. So thank you, Michael, for all of your knowledge share that you're providing all of us. And yeah, it's all recorded, so they could always skip this stuff down the line. Just let it flow, man.
That's pretty funny. I just saw his profile pic. We got to get him to talk on one of these things, even if it's just for 2 seconds.
Hey, Michael.
Good luck.
I'd say after everyone learns how to build their own node, maybe next step's hardware wallet.
Yeah, definitely so. I think that's something everybody should have, even if you're not putting much in it. Like, just maybe accumulate gains over time, and it's never a bad thing to have like a true backup plan.
No, and I'm glad you mentioned that too, because like Queen of Sparta, you mentioned you want to build this with your 4-year-old. The next fun STEM project after building the node itself is honestly you can build your own hardware devices. So one of the big things that came to the forefront with the infrastructure bill was the regulation of self-custody solutions for the crypto space. And are they going to make you KYC if you want to buy a ledger or a Trezor or anything like that? Well, at the end of the day, the fear and panic over that is really just a complete waste of everybody's time to stress over, because you can build your own hardware wallet signing devices via generic off-the-shelf computing cards. So Raspberry makes what's called the Raspberry Zero. You could get the version 1.3, which has no Wi-Fi. You can build your own fully air-gapped, QR code capable, multi-sig signing device with, I don't know, Frank, what was it? $30 worth of bullshit? I mean, $30, $40, you're all in, and you've built something that, and you've even got optionality there. You're not tied into like, oh, well, if they shut everything down, what am I going to do? You can build a seed signer, which if nobody's checked out the seed signer project, it's absolutely fascinating. They're great for the community. They're fully open source, which is a QR code solution for, and it's really a convenience tool for multi-sig in Bitcoin. But then you can also build what's called a Pi Trezor, because Trezor software is downloadable, and you can download or firmware actually, so you can flash Trezor firmware onto a Raspberry Pi Zero device that you build yourself. It's fun. I mean, it's stuff that you could build with your kids. So if this sounds complicated because of the way that I'm talking about it, understand that I can point you in the direction of 2 kids under the age of 7 that have built these fucking things. So everybody on this basis can do it. If you figured out how to join this space, you can figure out how to build these things. This is not as technical as it may be sounding the way I'm talking about it.
And he helped me too, so that wasn't an
That's
easy.
true.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that sounds really scary. Like it just sounds like it's going to be super difficult to do.
I will say this though: if all these terms sound like things that are hieroglyphics to you, then there's probably another couple layers of the onion that you should be peeling back on your crypto journey. You know, if you're not understanding concepts like XPubs or UTXO management or anything like that in the space, then there's a lot when it comes to the depth of the space that I would encourage everybody to dive deeper into. So on that note, Aldo, I see you there. I see you got the hand raised too, and I've sucked up entirely too much oxygen from this conversation. So let's go ahead and toss it over to you and go ahead and proceed with your question or comment, please.
Hi. Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Great to see everyone here. To touch back on the helium thread. So I know 2 guys that are doing that, and it's 100% dependent on where you're located in the U.S. and population density and everything else. We're in Northern Virginia, and I've heard between 300 a month and higher than that. Now, with regards to the time required to buy a miner, yes, I think it's around 20 months now. However, if you go on eBay, you can find miners for about $2,000, and so then the question becomes: is it better just to pony up for the $2,000 now and just get started working on that? So that's taking place now with 2 of my buddies that are doing that. One of them is a very successful ADA miner, and he has said that sometimes he has problems with the actual because you have an antenna essentially, and it goes out sometimes, is what he's reported. But the other guy hasn't reported any of those issues, and he's already up and making, he's earning helium with no reported issues. So I'm looking into it as whether the juice is worth the squeeze to spend the $2,000 to just have this passively working for me. It seems pretty simple. Doesn't require a lot, and depending on where you are, it could be, a source of passive income, which I'm interested in. So that's all. I just wanted to add on that thread. That's all I have. Thanks.
Yeah, appreciate that. I haven't actually looked into it. I'm gonna look into it myself, just something I don't know about. But I appreciate that.
And Michael, do you have any? What are your thoughts on setting up a node like with Windows? Like if you have an old computer or something, like what do you think about that?
So it's definitely an option. I know a lot of people that run Bitcoin Core instances on PCs. You can also run virtual machines that are running some of the other services. And I think that pretty much everything down the line can either run native to Windows or on a virtual machine through Windows. So it's certainly doable. It's not the method that I would personally choose unless I had to. I would suggest that unless it's an always-on machine, I'd be willing to bet that you're going to expend more in electricity running a full PC than the difference in just buying the Raspberry Pi and some of the solid state, no moving parts, no bells and whistles devices. So, I mean, I've built Raspberry Pi nodes that have 0 moving parts, and passive cooling. They don't even run a fan. They make no noise. They generate negligible amounts of heat and are pretty much good enough for any purpose that you would need. You can run Lightning nodes on it. You can run Sphinx through it if you wanted to chat that way. You can run BTC Pay servers if you wanted to be able to generate invoicing in Bitcoin. You could handle all of your multi-sig, manage Spectre, manage Samurai dojos or Ronin dojos, and run coin joins. There's no limitation to the bells and whistles that you could run on a Raspberry Pi for the purposes of someone's personal use. So I would argue that there's almost a small niche case to even justify running one on a PC, and that would really be only if it's already an always-on machine. And I still don't know that it would necessarily be worth doing that way. I know that I think the dude is in the spaces right now, or at least he was earlier, and I believe he runs Bitcoin Core on a PC. So I'd be curious to get his take if he's still in here. If not, we can come back to him maybe next week. But for the purposes that I described, I think that it's much more beneficial to get the hands-on of just getting your hands dirty and building some stuff yourself. And I mean, we're talking $250 all in. It's a very, I guarantee you, it's probably, aside from like maybe library charged late fees, it's probably the cheapest education you'd get with the most intellectual yield to come from it. And it, along the way, you start to understand the things that clear up so many misconceptions that people have about the space, whether it be about how wallets work. Wallet is probably the most poorly used term in the space. Because it means so many different things. It could be an address on the Bitcoin network. It could be a physical device. It could be a hot wallet. It could be a software protocol on a phone. It could be a software protocol on a PC. It could be an address that's a ledger item on a custodial exchange. It's probably one of the shittiest terms in the space because in general, you could probably throw a dart in this spaces and hit someone who is going to define it incorrectly, including myself at times. And it's the exercise of actually interacting with the network yourself that helps you figure out what you didn't know before that you thought you knew. Everybody gets into the crypto space, and then you'll hear your typical like fanboy. It's like, oh, I want to spin up a node so I can support the network. And I have said that myself. I'll be the first to criticize myself in that naive, I don't know shit about fuck yet kind of mentality. Everybody kind of says that at some point, except running a node on the network doesn't do a damn thing to support the network. The only way to actually have that node be effective at supporting the network is if you're using it actively to validate transactions. If you're not verifying and validating your own transactions via your node accomplishes nothing because there's nothing that is actually maintaining that node's feet to the fire to actually produce the truth. Because if you're not actually using it to validate or verify transactions, there's no telling whether or not that is repeating a real source of the truth, a real copy of the truth, or a distorted one. So there are a bunch of things that people try to do passively via running nodes just for like checking that box. But I think that if you really invest the time in understanding why you're doing it and what you would be doing with it, it helps kind of open your eyes to much of the space that many people overlook, especially folks that just come in it for the convexity of a trade or the investment vehicle. And there's nothing wrong with that too. I mean, there's a ton of animosity in the crypto space. You even see, everybody knows at this point that I'm on the Bitcoin side of the spectrum. There's a civil war going on in the Bitcoin world again over, we went through it in 2017 with the block size wars and the SegWit and the New York agreement and all the bullshit that happened. And we're back here to a point where we should be past that. Yet within the Bitcoin community, there's this rift between toxic maximalism versus acceptance and just being, less shitty people. And there was, there's this tribalism that exists in the space where toxic maxis feel the way they feel because that was a defense mechanism that was necessary to survive 2017. And there's this influx of new people that are so new to the space that they don't understand the history to even know why that faction exists. So it just looks like a bunch of dickheads, and that spills over. The Vgx community is no stranger to it. I mean, we've got the same thing going on within our own walls. You've got the toxicity, the aspect of it. You've got the negativity. We're fracturing the community into these sections of people that are all being kind of painted with the same brush. But this is something that happens that I think one of the biggest things that facilitates that rift is the lack of understanding of the underlying thing that people are fighting about, and people just end up fighting over shit that they don't understand. So the way out of that is education, honestly, and making sure that people do their own research and understand the things that they're investing in. And even if you're investing in it just as an investment, there should at least still be a deep enough dive to understand the people that are fundamental within the space. You've got fundamentalists, you've got tribalists. These things are not going to go away, and they only get the worst aspects of them get amplified when people don't understand what the fuck they're talking about. And to the extent that we put these spaces on and we try to help people understand, we're patient. Like I said, we won't criticize anybody. You want to come in here and shill whatever new fucking Ichimoku Inu is down the pike to try to cash in on the name recognition of the previous Inu, of the previous SHIB, of the previous Doge. I don't give a shit if the chart goes up and you make money on it. God bless. I'm not going to hold that against you. If you want to buy shit, buy it. You want to sell shit, sell it. But we get into this toxicity debate that kind of permeates when people don't understand what the fuck they're doing and they don't understand the things that they're buying. So that's pretty much it for my soapbox spiel. And thanks for coming to my TED Talk. But I think everybody that's stuck around for the better part of 2 hours here is probably like-minded, and that acquiring enough information to be able to know what the fuck you're talking about is probably a good thing.
Yeah, thank you for that little sharing that. No, I agree, my guy. And that Bitcoin maxi rift that's going on, it's very interesting to watch. You'll see some, because I've been following it. I lean towards the Bitcoin side. Some guys that were hardcore maximalists are kind of changing gears towards the lighter side. It's just kind of just something. It brings up an interesting debate for sure. But yeah, Thor, I asked you earlier, but do you have any kind of what you're seeing on the market and like Bitcoin dominance and things along those lines?
Yeah, hey, what's going on? Sorry about that. I was having some trouble. I thought I heard something, but I wasn't sure. So honestly, right now, I was over the past like 2-3 hours, everything kind of bounced significantly, which I've been kind of looking into. But I mean, we've all been seeing it. It's been super choppy, terrible to trade. Everyone has their like grand overview bias of bull or bear, and that's kind of where we've been sitting now. Within this range, everyone's been kind of trying to figure that out. I lean, full disclosure, way on the bull side that we're not done yet. But like, yeah, right here, that 41,000 level for Bitcoin is what I've been looking at. And we've touched it 5 times now. Like, a lot of people would not have expected it to hold after that many attempts, but looks like now we're shooting up. We're getting close to that weekly open. Still, what I had seen on some on-chain analytics is, and this has been all over, that there was a really big entity on BitMEX that had billions of dollars of bids between 35 and 37K. So there was kind of that narrative going on where it was going to be one of those, they were trying to make a cascade happen, fill their limit buys, and then drive it up. So I think a lot of people were thrown off by this right here. I mean, not like that's just something interesting that I've seen, and I'm still expecting either within the next week we'll have a definite direction of. I mean, within the next 2-3 weeks, I think we'll be strongly moving back up. Do I know if we'll get that limit fill of the entity? No, but I mean, at this point, really, I think what I'm trying to say is, know your basis of bear bull bias and stick to it till you're in validation point. And to that aspect, also kind of tying back to what Michael was saying, is education is really the biggest key piece on that. I lost a ton of money in 2017. I was a brand newbie, was up a ridiculous amount at the top of the cycle, kept buying bags, kept just kind of falling into every narrative that was thrown out there by whoever has money to pay social media management sites and throw it in your face the most. And then you get stuck holding those bags. A lot of people quit, get frustrated, do whatever. Some people, I decided to, I had an IT background, so I decided to kind of keep looking into it. And I believed in the vision of the future of what cryptocurrency can do, blockchain technology, etc. But I mean, I kind of fell into it too much, where it's you don't look at the grand picture of where we actually are technologically and as industry moving forward. But I kept up with it for the past 4 years. You kind of learn to look into the history of the market cycles for just a grand overview of like, where are we going? How long will this bull run last? How long will this bear run last, etc. But also kind of like red flags in the market. We were talking about the Shiba coins, like ENO coins, whatever. We're seeing tons of different NFT projects coming out now daily. I trade those daily. Super fun. Great trends to make money off of. But you also have to know which projects to differentiate from when it comes to, what is a actual project that has longevity and is trying to really drive an impact in the future of this industry, and what value does it actually bring to you, versus is this essentially a pyramid scheme that's just rebranded as a cryptocurrency? And I think, as we're slowly educating ourselves in the space, it's becoming easier, and more people are beginning to become aware of it. But still, if you're new, that's something that you have to really make sure you figure out what your grand plan is for. Are you gonna sell it immediately, sell it quickly, try to flip it, or is this a project that you're gonna hold for longevity wise? Because tons of misinformation, tons of misconceptions out there, and if you don't look into each aspect of it and try to educate yourself, it's easy to fall into that. But now I just feel like I kind of had a TED talk and I was rambling there. But that's kind of my input for the end of the night.
No, I appreciate it. That's
You're good,
insight.
man. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, definitely so. I appreciate it as always. We only have about 5 or 6 minutes. Floki, you want to just kind of speak on the Vgx Heroes or anything along those lines for the last few minutes?
Sure. Keep your head up, guys. Like Thor said, I my heart tells me I'm no expert or charter, but the moon and Jupiter and Venus and the stars, whatever you want to say. It feels like things are going to turn around pretty soon. Let's not forget that this month was the worst month notoriously of the year for cryptocurrency, as well as that typical third, fourth week of the month drop in Bitcoin that we're used to all year long. So, I mean, speak your truth, be positive, just know that you're not alone. And this community is what you make it. So, I've been really, really busy this week, and with Vegas, I mean, it's hard to gauge the sentiment over the past weekend. I heard it was pretty poor, but just know that we are so early, and all of the big players that I was with over the weekend, a lot of people were talking about the FUD and the sentiment, and they all said without a blink of an eye or in a heartbeat that that's just noise. They're not worried about it at all. I mean, from Pat Ackerman himself, he was like, it was whatever. This is just noise. Everything's good.
And I kind of have something to add on that too. It really is. I mean, the market, when you're making money on the market, someone else is losing, right? And these whales out there, the large bag holders, everybody, the big money, they're trying to really make you lose out, and they will try to they have the money to control the media, social media management companies, etc. Now, I mean, it might sound kind of like like I'm diving into kind of the rabbit hole of the conspiracy and stuff like that, but I mean, my opinion from like on-chain analytics data to back it up, and the historical notorious news and FUD out there. It really all is just whale games. The overall market cap is still not that low. So the narrative will and can and will change like very quickly. And the money that is entering the space can make it look so bad, and then literally within 2 weeks, everyone's sentiment completely changes. Remember that. Remember, why you're here, and for the long term as well. Sorry, I cut in for way too long there too.
No, you're good, man. I mean, I think it's important to hear, and I would say when prices are not what you want them to be, shift your focus, and that's really how VGX Heroes started. Right? Is we shifted our focus from what the price was, and at the current time it sucked, and with that downtrend, we just focused on building a community, focused on each other. There's a lot of fun to be had in this space. And we're bonded together through our investment, but that's not the only reason to interact with each other. Which is a lesson that I'm learning more and more every time I get together with people in this community in real life. There's a lot of really cool, smart people, and let's just continue to find ways to connect, whether that be through art or events or education, sports, whatever it is. Think about what your interests are outside of the crypto space and reach out to the community about it. That's why I post my dog every once in a while. It's important to remember the life outside of crypto Twitter, because there will always be trolls. There will always be people that communicate in a different way that you don't like, and there's so many other things out there that are positive that deserve your attention. So that's what I have to say, and I'm going to hand it off to some others. I appreciate everyone on the panel tonight and everybody else who joined today. I learned a lot, and I just love being here.
Appreciate it as always. We'll get to Aldo, then we'll let Michael kind of close it off. Go ahead, Aldo.
Yeah, I just want to touch on what Floki said there. In terms of the like the VGX Heroes, like morale and stuff, my morale is never higher. I quite frankly don't care, because I know, I buy investments based on people and teams, and I look at VGX as it's a no-brainer, and I'm all in on that. So the day-to-day does not bother me. The fact that we're down, whatever, and I see stuff on Twitter often, that does not bother me at all about this asset that we're into. Now, the next thing that is of note is the community makes it obviously that is something that's special, and I just think that we're incredibly early into this asset. I'm not a maxi about anything. I look at all the assets that I hold, and this is one of the communities that this is quite frankly the strongest community that I see. And when I look at the community that you guys are building, and the ethos and the camaraderie, that is the ethos of crypto, which is about not just like, yes, we're all here to make money. Let's not be let's not like lie about that shit. Like, we're here to make money, but there's such a spirit in crypto that is to create like this community, which is I don't know, just like a sense of community, and almost like a counterculture thing. And I see that with the VGX community, which is fascinating to me. The first time I saw it, when you guys started doing the VGX Heroes, no one else is doing that. You're producing great artwork, and you're creating like a esprit de corps that no one else has. and that's fucking awesome. And it's paired with a phenomenal team and a phenomenal asset. So to me, I'm long on this, and quite frankly, I don't give a shit like about I don't really care about the FUD overall, but like the guys that FUD VGX and stuff, I'm like, it does not even, I never even, I just take in my you know, my winnings and my you know, all the VLP stuff. I'm just like, okay, fine. Like, I'm fine with it. I love it. I love it. I love it. You want to sell your stuff? Fine. I'll buy more when I can. This is a great community. It's based on a great idea by a leader that has succeeded before. And what's taking place here is much different than I've seen in other communities. And so I have zero doubt, and the you know, the idea about or at least the question about the morale amongst the VGX heroes. I'm one of them. I can't speak for all of them or any of them other than myself. I can just say from one VGX hero, I have zero questions about this, and I love it, and I love the community. And I'll relinquish the mic to anyone that wants to speak. And I thank you all for everything.
Yeah, that was amazing. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, appreciate that, Frill. Michael, did you have something to add to that?
No, I saw Obi-Wan requested, so Obi-Wan, I was going to do a lightning round because we spent so much time talking about Bitcoin tonight, which is my sweet spot, but I know that may not have touched everybody's appetite. So I was going to do a lightning round with everybody in the speaker panel suggesting one of their favorite assets that is either not Bitcoin or not VGX. But Obi-Wan, let's cut to you first, and then we'll bang through a quick lightning round and then call it a night.
Well, okay. I have a signal chat of a lot of my referrals, and I was just running through the math, and maybe Scott could check me on it if he's still on it. He might have dropped off, but I was looking at the 7% interest. If we were to vote to keep that going, the 7% stake and reward plus the growth pools, without a burn mechanism, I believe that puts us about 4.1 million or 412 million tokens 5 years out from now, because the question would come up in my group of, you know, where do you see the price in 5 years? And I said, it's more about the market cap. And if, you know, the experts and the pundits are right, and we're going to see a $10 trillion market cap plus for crypto, then I don't see any reason why, if Voyager's a lifestyle financial app, and you're trading equities, you're doing banking, you're doing crypto on it, I don't see any reason why it can't get to 100 billion market cap. And if you do the math, you know, you take the 100 billion market cap and you divide it by the 412 million tokens, and you about a $240 VGX price, assuming there's no burn. And then I went in to show the math of how many tokens you would need, right? But if you just think about all right, so here we go, another statement that's been out there, right? They want 10 million funded accounts within the next 3 years. So let's say we get to 10 million funded accounts, and they say they lower the rewards token to 100. You're looking at 4.1 million people scrambling to get 100 tokens to participate in the VLP. You think that's going to cause a little bit of demand? So, and then I did the math too, thinking, okay, well, they lowered the interest earning to 25. That's a little bit more attainable number, you know, down the road. I think they know what they're doing when they come up with these numbers that they're throwing out in terms of the tiers and the programs. So I just think anybody who's fudding it, if you just run through the math kind of like I did, and you think about where this market is heading, where the token supply is going to be, what the rewards are going to look like in a few years, and the demand outweighing the supply, I don't see how anybody could not be bullish about that, right? So take the amount that you want in monthly interest, divide that by 7% divided by 12, and you'll get how much you need today to have a passive income stream for the rest of your life. So there's my alpha. Enjoy.
Thank you. That's fantastic. Michael, go ahead.
You know, I appreciate that. And I would say that, you know, to a similar goal, you know, when people try to FUD the token, I like the idea of combating them with knowledge and information more so than calling them a name or kind of infantilizing the conversation. So I appreciate that type of response. I know that, you know, some of this has been a hot topic lately. I'm not going to beat around the bush. And there is an audience that loves the oorah, you know, beat them into the ground kind of approach. But the one thing that resonates with me is that it's a great rallying cry for the people already on the boat, but the people already on the boat can't buy an infinite supply of this shit. So at some point, we need to also be attractive to the people outside of the boat, and it's not too attractive to the people outside of the boat when they come in and see that, you know, we're just calling people a bunch of names. So I understand that there's a place for both. I think that it needs to be with balance. I personally prefer the approach that is more formulaic and provable. And I think that's what Obi-Wan just tried to do in a slightly different way than I do it, but along the similar vein. So, you know, just to share my own kind of methodology on that, and I shared this a couple weeks ago, but there is a particular footer out there that many have seen like to compare this to frequent flyer miles. And they try to do this in the guise of it being valueless because your frequent flyer miles aren't worth shit. And I would just suggest that when I'm faced with that kind of FUD, I like to remind that person that frequent flyer mile programs were the only sources of equity value that was leverageable to the airlines when the entire fucking world shut down in March of last year. So when their airlines were worth negative, when their equity was worth negative, the only thing that they were able to leverage to actually borrow against to keep their airlines existing were their frequent flyer mile programs. And if you look at the frequent flyer mile programs across the major airlines, they span from anywhere from $19 to $27 billion in valuation. And if you apply a $19 to $27 billion valuation to the market cap of Vgx, you're basically looking at, you know, a particular person likes to say frequent flyer miles Vgx to $1. Well, using their own logic against them, the base case on the lowest frequent flyer mile program out there would put the value of VGX token at $67. That, to me, is a more demonstrable critique than just calling him some type of anthropomorphized, you know, special needs character. Let's just put it at that. So I like that people kind of refute stupidity with intelligence. I think that that's a lot better than meeting them at their own level. I think it's a lot more effective for the community. I think it's a lot better for the outside looking in, because if I was not a part of the community and I just looked at it from the outside looking in, it doesn't always give the best impression. So I think that if I saw, well, there's a bunch of people out there acting like assholes, and the people in this community are still good-hearted enough to actually help try to educate those people and make them better informed so that they can make a better decision, I think that that goes a longer way. And at the end of the day, we need to bring in more people from outside the boat, because the people inside the boat aren't going to infinitely be able to buy this shit forever. So I think that was a really good point. The only critique, Obi-Wan, that I would have in your numbers, and not that anything was wrong, but just one thing that would need to be tweaked, I think, is in the total supply, because the trying to project 5 years out, I would just argue, is incredibly difficult, because the actual rate of staking rewards that is currently 7% is only valid for this first year. And we don't yet understand the mechanism by which they're going to request feedback from the community. So we know that we're going to have some sort of a governance stake in what happens next. But I think that has been somewhat of a sliding scale. I think initially when people heard that it was going to be governance, they assumed that it was going to be in a completely decentralized nature, like Compound or Aave or many of the other protocols out there, where it truly got handed over to the community and they were able to set the initiatives for what got voted on, and there was no limitation. I think realistically, what I am currently expecting would be some type of a narrowed down path through which we can pick, kind of like a Chinese menu where you get to pick from column A, B, or C, but you don't get to choose filet mignon or chicken parmesan. It's like you've got to stay within the menu. So I could see us getting an option of maybe retaining the current interest rate, or, you know, I doubt increasing it is a good idea personally, but we'll save that topic for another day. I could see maybe getting the choice between 5%, 7%, 10%, and we get to pick column A, B, or C. I don't think we're going to get the level of control to say we get to pick an arbitrary rate based on whatever we want. And I think that in a perfectly honest response, that is probably a good thing, because I've seen far too many people in the community not understand that by going from interest to a staking reward, that it is ultimately inflationary. And people don't necessarily understand that in order to increase the spending power of the tokens that you own, you need to actually retain all of your interest too. So it's not necessarily a net gain in the same way that interest on a fixed supply was. But like I said, that rate is only fixed for the first year.
Yeah.
And that rate will vary from there.
Yeah, I 100% qualified that before I went into the math in the group. I said the theoretical maximum in 5 years would be that if there was no burn and if we maintained the 7% rate.
Right, and then the burn's a completely other unknown at this point that we have yet to grasp what is realistic as far as expectations. I think similarly to what happened with the cashback rewards for the price improvement multiplier, everybody thought that it was a nothing burger. Everybody thought that it was a complete afterthought and it was never going to amount to anything. And all of a sudden they paid it out bi-weekly in a mid-month reward. And everybody's like, holy fuck, I got a ton back. And it was a complete surprise to everybody. I think that likewise, there are certain other aspects of the VLP that have been criticized that are just completely misunderstood at this point, including by myself. I'm not claiming to understand them either. I would have been one of the first to say that the cashback multiplier on price improvement was a non-event for me. Like I couldn't care less. But I also didn't understand exactly how it was going to be applied. And I think that there's some things that can be improved via better communication of how some of these mechanisms are going to work, so that there's maybe a little bit less confusion out there in the community. But in due time, I think that they ultimately proved what the cashback rewards did in practice much better than they ever could on paper. So I know that there's a lot of criticism of the white paper and not explaining well enough, and there's not a good enough FAQ out there for the tokenomics. And I think that some of those critiques are justified, but I think ultimately, had they laid that out in legal speak, nobody would have understood what the fuck it meant the same way that they did when those deposits did their game. So I'll defer over to Crypto, and I see you've got your hand raised, so go ahead and hop on.
Oh yeah, yeah, I completely agree. I mean, it's the education aspect of. I mean, you covered so much, Dan. But like, number one, from the education aspect of like educating the space and the community around you, it's one of the first things I look at, like when evaluating what's a shitcoin, what's not. You know, is a huge red flag is somebody immediately commenting something derogatory or aggressive towards you, saying like yeah, exactly, something like, oh, you're an idiot, like I'm not even gonna explain it to you, like I'll pack my bags, like, or like, you know, trying to be secretive, whatever. It's most likely that they don't even know what it is or what it does, because it's one of those grand pyramid schemes. But long story short, I mean, educating on the value of what the actual fundamentals of Voyager are, you know, the team behind it, the potential that we can see in the next couple of years, the incredible growth rate that the company's had, and the actual utility of the cryptocurrency and the blockchain being integrated into this company that is going to be here. You know, like, I mean, if it continues doing what it's doing, it's going to be here and it's going to thrive in an already thriving space and industry. So as users continue to grow, like, which will continue to be exponential, because the whole space will continue to be exponentially growing for the next couple of years, then, you know, it doesn't really matter the growth rate and the minting rate of the new supply coming out. I mean, yeah, it does, but it's going to be far outweighed by just the overall users and money in the space that's coming in. That's number one. I mean, and then number two, I honestly, well, I said way too many things for that to be number two. But one thing I tweeted yesterday, because I had seen something where they were comparing like different coins and their growth rates from this year, and it was like Luna was like 10,000%, VGX was only 2,000%, and like someone was making fun of it. And I was like, that's incredibly bullish to me. Back like a year ago, on like in January of 2021, we had 605,000 verified users. Like back in September, on September 8th, we were already at 2 million verified users. Like that's ridiculous growth, and we retraced like 50% after that. It's a no-brainer for, you know, especially now after this type of consolidation and downtrend, that there's going to be some pop coming up. Not financial advice. nothing, but just looking from a numbers perspective, looking at the actual value that's driven in this service and this project versus a lot of the other projects that, do they even produce revenue? What do they actually do? What's their business model? Or is it literally just you make more money because someone else buys it, and then it's that that type of burn mechanism that like eventually when people stop buying, it's just going to literally collapse on itself, where it doesn't have a true business model behind it, and that's kind of the longevity that you look at. But yeah, I went on a rant there and lost kind of my track of thought, but I want to jump in there on that front.
Yeah, no, that was great. Thank you for that. We're kind of past our time, so I think I'm going to wrap it up here. But if anybody has any final thoughts, go ahead.
Just to sort of talk about people's style of encountering FUD, I would just encourage everybody to be funny and creative. If you absolutely have to counter troll, some of us it's fun, right? Instead of being nasty or mean, and it's really it's clear as day when somebody is asking a genuine question versus just trying to cause damage. So use your best judgment. Just know that there are curious, normal people out there, just fight the FUD wisely and have fun. I personally am challenging myself to only use GIFs to counter FUD. Just because you give them words, they're gonna spin it some way or another just to keep the conversation and it going. Versus GIFs, it's just like things kind of shut down after 2 or 3 GIFs. They just sort of get tired of it because you're not giving them really a lot of fuel to keep it going. So it is important to stand your ground, but just be smart. Don't be nasty. And just be creative.
Twitter trolling is fun. Yeah, you just there's fun ways to do it that aren't nasty.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, just post some Pepe's. I'll hop in there with you.
Yeah, and calculate the risk. Like if you're in here for the benefit of your investment, just calculate the risk. Is it worth the optics from the outside looking in, just for the feel good moment and the frat boy moment of everybody kind of pounding their chests when you eviscerate somebody? And I will be perfectly honest. I know that Floki likes the combativeness of it, and I'm wired to do the same. So I know that for Floki to recommend taking the comedic approach is a big step for him. And I am honestly not wired to be the pacifist that's like, just let everybody lie. Like if somebody's stupid, I want them to know how fucking stupid they are, and I want to just bend them over with it. But what is the net benefit? Who benefits from that? Ultimately, I've seen entirely too much fear and angst from people outside of the circle that were intrigued to participate, but ultimately dissuaded by the seemed toxicity of our community to really feel like I need that endorphin rush of just tearing somebody a new asshole. Like it's just ultimately not worth it. I like the funny approach. I'm all for and I try to take that approach too. And every single person on this stage, whether they're trying to take the high road or not, myself included, has absolutely crossed the line with how I've responded to somebody on Twitter. It is what it is. Twitter's a cesspool. But just as a rule, I would just argue that if the toxicity that you're going to throw at somebody is not worth redeeming or saving that person, and it's not going to be effective anyway, and it's only going to dissuade outsiders from being in our community, then ultimately what did we gain from it? And if the answer is probably nothing, then it's probably not worth dying on that hill. That's just the long and the short of it.
And absolutely, I've said things that I want to take back and I regret. And I'll tell you guys firsthand, the testosterone-based counter FUD feels the worst out of all of them. Like when you look back, you're like, man, I could have been a little bit more funny or clever or something like that. It's those made me feel the best versus that just pounding your chest tribal shit. Most of which happened really late at night when you're not making the best judgment calls anyway. seem to be my timeline when I say some messed up stuff. So I apologize to those that I've hurt or offended, but yeah, we can't deny that some people are just trying to hurt us, and those are the ones that I encourage us to be smart with.
Well, Fluky, I want to give you kudos, man, because I mean, what is it? Less than 24 hours. Might even been today where DJ Crypto was just kind of going off, and really kind of, calling a segment of the group here crybabies, and it's just like, you know what? You're like, hey, man, let's stay away from that because it doesn't bring anything productive to the community. And I mean, that the kudos to you for suggesting that, but you're absolutely 100% right. And as someone like DJ Crypto who has a couple thousand followers, I mean, I can appreciate where he was coming from, but I mean, there's a lot of people that are invested in VGX, Voyager, and the community, and just to
you got cut off. Keep going. What happened?
To be completely insensitive to their positions. There's a lot of newbies in here. I mean, I've only been trading for a couple of years, and I've learned some hard lessons along the way. And if there's, over leveraging oneself, FOMOing into something, I mean, these are all natural human interactions that we go through. And, the last thing you want to do is insult the guy. Much like one of the guys, I've been bouncing in and out because I got my kids and wife and dinner and all that other stuff. So I haven't been able to stay consistent through this entire message. But just like a gentleman was saying in 2017, you lost a lot of guys, and he just had a passion for staying in. You don't want to be insensitive to the guy that found crypto, that FOMO'd into VGX, over leveraged himself, and then laugh at the guy because he's being very emotional about his position. I think what makes VGX strong is there's a lot of guys that have the experience and the knowledge of past full bear cycles to be able to share and say, hey, this is perfectly normal. What you did is perfectly okay. You just got to ride this thing out. It's not a loss until you sell. I was an Army Ranger, and one of the things that really helped me was the mastering the art of being comfortable being uncomfortable, and that got me through a lot of my training. I mean, it was taught to you. It wasn't something that just comes, naturally, but it's like once you can master being comfortable being uncomfortable, it really goes a long way. Like it's okay to like look at the screen one day and it's completely red and just turn it off and come back the next day and then we're up 25%. It's perfectly normal. These new guys that are investing, if we don't extend that knowledge to them, they have nowhere to go, and then all they do is tune into a guy that they followed in the first place that convinced them to buy something, and now they're laughing at them. I mean, they're going to sell their position, they're going to be out, and you never get that person back. So kudos to you, Fluky.
Yeah. Thanks, man. And let me say this. I support DJ Crypto through and through, every single word that he says, because he's has enough courage to express himself in the way that he does. And let's just realize that there is exactly what you're saying happening. And from the outside looking in, there are probably more constructive ways, but that's just one audience. I think there is an audience out there that rallies and identifies with that kind of show of strength that is really important to have in the community. And, I don't think that there's a right answer necessarily, but if, DJ's message inspired you to say something like that, I think that's a great thing, because it's up to us and those who believe in the opposite approach to make sure that we're just as loud and just as heard as DJs. So when people take a look at our community and they see both, they then realize, where they're going to focus their attention in the direction and who they're going to listen to. Because I think that the borderline censorship approach could also turn people off, even if it seems sort of
distasteful to
No,
some.
and to be clear and to
Um,
be honest, I completely 100% identify with DJ Crypto's position. Like that's exactly who I am. 100%. I call people out and you know and tend to be more of a put it in your face than a coddler. But the one thing that communication is being a business owner has taught me is just you've got to be sensitive to your audience. And even though like DJ Crypto puts himself out there, he's got a responsibility to himself and the community to be sensitive to everyone in the community. Not just that, what comes naturally to him and that segment that kind of thrives off of that. So, like I said, if it was me communicating, I would feel the exact same way, and I'd put out a YouTube video, and then I'd kind of look, after it had its 2,000 hits, I'd be like, oh man, damn it, I should have went back. Like you said earlier, we've all had those moments, but I would just say, I would just encourage those of us to be sensitive to others, because we do have, what makes this community strong is we've got everybody from, a guy that just stumbled into crypto yesterday to many years of experience here, and we just want to be sensitive to that.
Aldo, you have some data to this?
Yeah, I do. So a lot of us, we can plan or we see the toxicity of Bitcoin maxis, right? We see it everywhere, and so I'm listening to this conversation. I'm looking at it and I'm going, are we not falling into the same trap? Yes, we are passionate about VGX, our asset. Are we turning into that? If we are doing that we're becoming maxis ourselves, and I don't believe in being a maxi at all, because I believe in having the most education available and making choices based on information. And when I look at this stuff and people putting other people down for other things, one, it's not productive to the community. The last speaker actually mentioned that it kind of turns people off in general to joining a new community, because now you've created an insider outsider group, and we're already an outsider group by the Bitcoin maxis and every other group. So if you do that, you're just building walls and everything, and that's really quite antithetical to the entire ethos, in my opinion. I do understand people being passionate about a project. I am quite passionate about several projects. However, my approach would be a little bit different. I view things a little bit differently. So I don't view it as like I should put someone down that sells their stuff, or like, oh, you should, because I don't believe in I don't know, it's just like this right thing. You should like always think like me at all times. I think that's quite also antithetical to the entire crypto, just the entire crypto use. So I think that's in general a I think it's a suboptimal approach. I don't think it wins us any new. I don't think it wins us any points in the larger scheme of things. I think that tribalism on every level just is suboptimal. I think that the best ideas should win. I think the best communication is one of the best vehicles for that. I don't know. I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Mikey, you have something to add to this? I'll get to you next, Thor.
No, you can go to Thor. Or sorry, Mikey. I thought you were talking to me. I just saw Mikey as a speaker. Mikey, go for it. That's my bad.
Hi,
You
hello.
stole my name.
Yes, I did. Thank you. And first time speaking. I just want to say I appreciate the artwork that you guys did. Thank you for that. And I do agree with, I think negativity is very bad in this community and in general. So just keep that in mind, because we all want to make money, yes, but we want to have a good group of people around us. So that's all. I'll keep it brief.
Yeah, thank you for hopping up here and sharing that, and appreciate first time speaker. Good to have you up here. Thor, you can go ahead.
Hey, Mike, what's going on? Welcome. I appreciate that. But I wanted to add to what Aldo was saying, also with the where we're at and avoiding that toxic maximalism. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, if you actually believe in VGX or cryptocurrency, you have to realize in the big picture, 5 years, 10 years out from now, we're so early. You can't play favorites. The rate of technology, like the rate of technological growth and the adoption of the space, realistically, things could be completely different in 5 years. 4 years ago, like Binance was a very small company. CoinBase and Gemini were just getting started. And I was learning how to use them, and they were pretty sketchy. Like the user experience was terrible. And now more organizations are coming into the space. And yes, you can have a favorite. I'm very biased towards Voyager. I love Voyager, but I also have a crypto.com account. I also have a BlockFi account. I have a Celsius account as well. You want to make sure that while you choose your battles and what your favorites are, where you allocate your assets. There's going to be, just from a competitive standpoint, pros and cons of each platform, every platform. Oh yeah, that was about it right there.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's about time to wrap it up. We went 30 minutes over, but if anybody has any last second thoughts, like Aragorn, you just jumped up here. Anybody else?
Yeah, I've got one thing. I just wanted to say how happy I am to be a part of a community where we can have adult discussions like this and people aren't flipping out and, calling each other names and resorting to ad hominem. This is a rare thing.
That's what it's all about, man.
Yeah, thank you. Aragorn, go ahead.
Long time listener, first time caller. No. Hi guys. It was just good to be on tonight. I've had a really busy week and just needed a breath of fresh air. So glad I was here.
So I bet, yeah, I mean, while we're having this conversation, if anybody has anything else they want to add, they can definitely do it real quick.
Yeah, I know we're way over time, but it feels like this has been cathartic for a handful. So if anybody would like to speak, feel free. I know there's a handful of speakers that are on the panel already. So if you've got a mic and want to speak, go for it.
I just want to say I love this community. I love you guys. I am so happy to be here, and that's it. This makes it for me, and you guys are freaking awesome. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you, my friend.
Yeah.
Appreciate you coming up here. It's good hearing from you tonight. Definitely want to hear from you again.
Yeah, I love hearing new voices more often, man. I believe this is your second time. I appreciate you coming on and every single word you said. And I just love this community so much because of how different we all are. I say I support every single word that DJ said, and at the same pace, I support everything that people think he shouldn't have said. I think it's all so important, and it makes everybody stop and reflect and think about how we could all get to the same place that we all want to go together, without creating separation, or at least understanding the differences in style, and being able to provide balance and feel good about giving different opinions, even if it's in the same comment or thread or whatever. It all should be, you know, a part about being in this community is being open to feedback from your other heroes, whether it's good, bad, or stupid, or whatever it is. You know, it's all about growing both internally for yourself and as a community. So again, I encourage everybody to speak their truth, even if it conflicts with another hero's. I mean, this is really what it's all about. You see a bunch of people being too nice and you feel like they don't deserve it, you know, get funny, get creative, throw off the balance. If you see a bunch of people with tagging up and bullying, come in there and be nice and be open. Just don't hurt people. Don't use your best judgment. The first part about, you know, people being too nice and coming in hot and heavy, that's probably, I shouldn't have said that, but I'm guilty of doing that. When I see people attacking people I personally know and have friendships with, I have a hard time being nice sometimes. But again, those are usually not the people that are genuinely curious about the space. These are people that are trying to hurt you or your friends. So I just say, I love you guys, and I'm happy to be myself for you guys every day.
Yeah, appreciate you, Floki, as always.
Hey, Pepe.
Hey,
Hey,
friend.
man. Can you talk a little bit about the Discord channel? I think it would be really cool. It's sort of a enhancement to, like, we could talk on there, and like the speakers can, you know, drop their alpha, like if there's a website they're talking about or a person they're talking about, and then there'd be like a little record of the VGX hero, like this specific, you know, the AMA channel. Like I just noticed it was there. You started it today, I guess. But nobody was in there, and I see a bunch of you guys are like in the channel, so you know, you can just turn it on, and if you want to chat back and forth or ask questions or throw things, like, you know, then you don't have to DM or whatever.
Yeah, I think we've always had an Ask Me Anything channel that's honestly gotten zero traction. Today we introduced a channel specific to these AMAs that go on Wednesday nights so that people could passively ask questions that we get to throughout the week. And I think that the new channel has gotten more traffic than the old channel ever did. So maybe it was just a matter of lack of awareness, but I think everybody should feel free. You know, it's great to have a nice head count in here on Wednesday nights, and I think the more people that are in here, it helps get exposure to the group. But if you're ever in a position where you can't be here, or if you think of questions during the week that you don't want to wait until Wednesday for, please join us in the Discord. There's a new channel under the education section called Weekly AMA Wednesdays at 9 p.m. where you can ask questions that we will just aggregate and then we'll ask on these AMAs. So I think one thing that we're going to change a little bit moving forward, and Airborne tried to spring this on you live, but I think in the future we're going to try to record these, but actually broadcast them to YouTube after, because I think that we are facing a situation where we'll get better exposure if we didn't have people watching in two different places at the same time. So I think we're going to try to explore a scenario. We've seen a bunch of other groups that are out there doing these spaces where they deliberately don't live stream them on YouTube because it splits the audience. I think we'll get better exposure if we just put the audience on one place and then archive it to YouTube after the fact, so that anybody that missed it can still participate and see it. But we have been trying to take questions from the live chat at YouTube. It's just we're juggling a lot all at the same time. I think that channel helps to try to consolidate that all into one place. So please, by all means, we are not just available on Wednesday nights. A number of us are very happy and passionate about making sure that we educate our community, because, you know, a number of us fully recognize that many people sprung into the space either in a FOMO capacity or just because, you know, it was the hot hand at the time. And many of us, including some of us on this panel, need to catch up on understanding our investments so that we can navigate them appropriately and survive whenever things flip bare, because we've built a hell of a community here. And the last thing that I would want to see is for the community to be fractured because of emotions or just repercussions of a bear market. So I think that the more people understand the investments that they're in, the better suited they'll be to survive and navigate the bear market effectively. By all means, don't base your investment theses on what people have told you, but base them on knowledge that you have and things that you understand. If you currently are invested in tokens that you don't understand what they do, if you cannot step on stage and give me a convincing argument as to what it does or why you own it, then this is not financial advice, but I would say pretty suggestively that you probably don't have any position owning it. You should probably know why you own what you own and what it does. That's probably a fairly low bar for people to stumble over. So that's part of what we try to accomplish in the group. And there are a number of channels that people can interact with us throughout the week. You could DM us, any of us at any time. So we're all here. We want to make sure that this community is strong in VGX, outside of VGX, in Bitcoin, in custodial exchanges, within Voyager, outside of Voyager. We don't really give a shit. We just know that we're all kind of aligned over a common goal and a common investment thesis in Voyager, but that doesn't necessarily need to be the be-all, end-all, and we want to make sure that everybody in the community succeeds. So that we genuinely have altruistic intentions with these educational spaces. None of us up here benefit in any way, shape, or form from being here. We just genuinely enjoy educating the community. So by all means, please participate as much as you possibly can. There, like we've said ad nauseum, there are no questions that are too big or too small. If there's anything that we don't know, there's probably nothing that I would love more than to be stumped up here. I think that happened our first week. I think the very first question that we got, all of us looked at each other like, what the fuck was that question? And it was probably the best feeling that I think we've had in the 6 or 8 weeks of doing this that we've had. So by all means, please come to us, try to stump us, ask us shit that's relevant to you, ask us things that you think is relevant to the rest of the community. Everybody can benefit from it, learn from it. Use the channels available to you in the Discord, any channel, to ask us anything, the weekly AMA channel, ask us stuff about charts in the charts channels. Participate, please. None of us bite. This shouldn't be intimidating. There's no question too big or too small.
What's the flight ratio of an African swallow? That's a movie reference
VGX,
you're not going to get.
Oh my bad.
Laden or unladen?
Go ahead.
Nice.
VGX is at 2.5, guys. Can we get some 100s? I'll take full credit for this, and our space is taking full credit for that price movement. Yep, 100s.
Market manipulation. Let's go, baby.
That's it. That's
Yeah,
it.
we know major winners snacked up a couple grand.
Yeah, thank you, Piggy, for posting that in the Discord. The only reason I knew that is because Piggy posted in the charting, and I get a little notification at the top of my phone that says, we're in the cloud, guys. We're moving. So, this is a great session, even though it went over.
What happened? We're at 250 right now?
Yeah.
What? It's like 220.
Breaking out.
Right? It just kind of bumped.
And
That sounds like a perfect
price movement, yeah.
yeah, perfect way to end it.
I love listening to you guys and making some money back. That's awesome.
Yeah, it sounds like a
Definitely
real
so.
cartel move up to 250. So I don't know. I appreciate the profile pick and all, but for fuck's sake, get up on stage, man.
Yeah, Cartel, come on. You're
I'll
killing
get,
me, man.
I'll get you one of these weeks.
Hey, Michael, maybe you need to change your profile picture then.
Do you know how fucking old I am, right? You know how long it took me to switch to this pixelated thing that Piggy made for me because I fucking hate NFTs?
Hey, a Bitcoin node at 5 years old, I think you can handle a pixel.
Oh, that's
I'm not a smart man.
All right, but I think we're going to wrap it up there. Thank you, everybody that stuck here. Appreciate you as always. Check back next Wednesday. We'll have a time. It'll more than likely be 9 Eastern or 8 Eastern. But appreciate everybody as always. Make sure to follow the VGX Hero page. Once again, join the Discord. The Discord's at my link. VGX Heroes and Flokies. This was recorded on Crypto Airborne's channel. So if you missed anything, you can watch it there. Thank you, everybody. Catch y'all next week.
Bye.
Have a good night, everybody.
See you.
Good night.
Night.